The garrison of the Iron Blood sect is located at the end of this street. It's quite a sizable mansion. On the mansion, there's also a sign that reads, Iron Blood Real Man, Green Blood Real Hero. At the entrance, there stand two strong disciples with pointed heads, bare-chested, constantly showing off their strong muscle lines to outsiders. This trick works pretty well, attracting quite a number of martial world people to inquire about recruitment. Nowadays, various forces divide territories. Whether it's to make money, seize land, or explore Golden Mountain, they need people. In other words, they need cannon fodder and working horses. So it can be seen that some rather proud sects, which used to be quite particular about recruitment, are now open to accepting anyone. As long as they seem decent, are free of contagious diseases, and don't look like they would betray their masters, harm fellow members, they accept them. Various forces are even vigorously advertising to attract people. Previously, the Joyful Union Sex Brothel was actively recruiting, claiming that after learning and practicing for a few days, one could start running the business and making money. After all, Golden Mountain is quite dangerous. Many couples come seeking divine skill opportunities, and often one of them ends up dying, leaving quite a few widows here. Duan Yun has already realized that because of the large population and scarce grain here, prices are quite high, even surpassing the famously expensive Wangchun City Street in terms of food and medicine prices. Widows wanting to survive and seek opportunities often are forced to sell themselves to earn silver tael. The Iron Blood sect is also adopting a stance of accepting anyone they see. It's evident that Iron Blood sect is determined to develop here. The base was already built before, and the people coming down the road yesterday were just one of their groups. Duan Yun decided to go back and disguise himself, then thoroughly transform this unrefined sect to give it a fresh look. Yes, encountering old acquaintances in a foreign land, who else would he transform if not them? Duan Yun is a man of action, immediately heading home to have Feng Linger disguise him once more. His handsome appearance could attract attention if he goes as he is, inconvenient for passing on cultivation techniques. Yes, the martial world's prejudice against him is too great. Duan Yun returned to the mansion, thinking about how Iron Blood sect will turn into something else because of him, feeling full of motivation, quickly urging Feng Linger to hurry. He just wandered around Qinghe City for a bit and realized too many sect forces urgently needed a heroic spirit makeover. The young hero is very busy. Upon hearing Duan Yun is going to transform Iron Blood sect, Murong strongly expressed the desire to join. Yesterday, he was already displeased with those guys with pointed heads, and now hearing old Demon Duan intends to transform them, how could he not be interested? The key is, he genuinely can't imagine what old Demon Duan would turn them into. Just like he can't figure out how old Demon Duan comprehends cultivation techniques in Mingyu Palace and manages to train many people into bald and white tigers. Shining and others couldn't figure it out either, and also wanted to see the excitement, but ended up being refused. Inside Iron Blood sect, taking a glance revealed pointed-headed real men everywhere and no women, so it wasn't suitable for them to go. We must stay there until Iron Blood sect is transformed. Ahem. Until Iron Blood sect is overhauled, Duan Yun said. And what if the transformation isn't successful? Murong asked. Duan Yun's face darkened, saying, I, the young hero, go with a heart for heroism to transform them. If they dare not succeed, then they are naturally the opposing evil demons against the young hero. I'll wipe out their whole family. Murong and others instantly stood in awe. The young hero is never wrong. With such methods, no wonder you are the leader of the group of heroes. Thinking that the transformation time might be not short, Murong faced Ning Qing and suddenly felt sorrowful. They've been stuck together this period, and suddenly having to separate makes Yuzhu Manor's top romantic feel reluctant. Ning Qing, having just arrived at a new place, still a haunted house, felt a sense of security with Murong sleeping under the bed, now also feeling reluctant to separate. For a moment, the two of them held hands like a pair of lovebirds bound by fate. Duan Yun angrily said, Why don't you just not go? Murong said, I want to go. I want to help you. Duan Yun fired up, Then you're making it look like you're parting in life and death. Those unaware might think I'm the villain or a wicked foreman tearing you apart. Ning Qing quickly tidied up Morong's collar, gently saying, "You go ahead. With so many people here, I'll be fine." Afterwards, Feng Linger routinely made human skin masks for Duan Yun and Morong. At Morong's strong request and Duan Yun's approval, Morong's mask was made to look more handsome this time, while Duan Yun's was intentionally ugly, with a crucial scar on the face. Morong was very satisfied with this, but gradually he found something amiss. Logically, his fake face should be more handsome than Duan Yun's, but Duan Yun standing there somehow appeared more harmonious. That scar on his face should be quite ugly, but from here it appeared not only very masculine but seemingly had a kind of magic, attracting both men and women's attention. For instance, Feng Linger was almost dumbstruck watching. Morong was secretly shocked, thinking, "What's going on? Could it be that old demon Duan secretly practiced some kind of demon technique? Still handsome even with a fake face." Morong didn't understand that even the most advanced disguise skills in the martial world must follow the bone structure, otherwise it would look very fake. Duan Yun's bone structure is similar to Chang Wu's, as rare as his nearly unique cultivation talent. Such a person, unless intentionally playing an ugly role, like putting a pile of ulcers on his face, wouldn't look too ugly. In order to make himself appear more like a genius of the Iron Blood sect, Duan Yun even channeled his inner strength, causing his muscles to swell considerably. He glanced at his reflection in the water and found that, with his muscles bulging like this, he somewhat resembled a muscular Neza. This certainly gives off a sharp appearance, so when he displays his talents at the Iron Blood sect, he wouldn't look out of place. "Let's go." Seeing that the Morong brothers were also ready, he urged. It was noon, and within Qinghe City, people bustled about in all sorts of manners. Butchers, those kinds of butchers, Red Tower Mountain smokers, gamblers who lost their wives, truly a mix of gambling dogs, prostitution dogs, and drug dogs. As Fan Gao puts it, the pressure here is immense, inevitably leading to various ways of relaxation to avoid going mad. Golden Mountain goes by other names, such as Mad Mountain and Dead Mountain, indicating the mountain's dangers, either killing or driving people insane. At noon, the Iron Blood sect was having lunch. Duan Yun and the Morong brothers took a glance inside and couldn't help but frown. A group of sharp-headed men squatted there. Though there was meat, it was simply boiled chicken and greens. For the pair who loved hot pot and barbecue, this was simply a waste of ingredients. Duan Yun and the Morong brothers quickly stated their intentions. It must be said, their muscles greatly pleased Senior Brother Zhu. In less than 15 minutes, he had pinched their muscles several times. Especially the Morong brothers always felt like the other side was intentionally or unintentionally touching them. "Not bad. Not bad. You can first become outer sect disciples. If within a month you display your talents, you'll become inner sect disciples, personally instructed by the elders or even the sect leader." The Morong brothers, upon hearing this, joyfully said, "We'll be counting on you, Senior Brother, to take care of us then." "Certainly. It's 100 taels of silver each, all-inclusive for a month, including meals and accommodation." Senior Brother Zhu replied. Duan Yun and the Morong brothers handed over the silver, feeling a bit of heartache. Upon receiving the silver, Senior Brother Zhu immediately said, "Very good. You two are now outer sect disciples. One of you go wash dishes in the kitchen, the other wash that pile of clothes." Duan Yun, "The Morong brothers? Be quick about it. Our Iron Blood sect's cultivation techniques don't really require talent, but can still yield results. Once practiced to a certain level, one can strut proudly in the martial world. You two obviously have promising futures, work hard." Seeing the two puzzled, Senior Brother Zhu explained. In the afternoon, the two heroes were at work, one washing dishes, the other washing clothes. Washing dishes, Duan Yun couldn't help but complain. "I've heard of paying to work before, but this damn thing is paying to do hard labor." Each of them paying 100 taels of silver. He was here washing dishes, while the Morong brothers were over there washing smelly clothes and socks. "Who the hell made this rule? I really want to kill his whole family," Duan Yun angrily said while washing. The Morong brothers didn't reply, because he was holding his breath. The Iron Blood sect's people had such a strong odor, The clothes and socks were overwhelming even when soaked in water, burning the eyes and nose. From his perspective, he could see within the Iron Blood sect's inner courtyard, disciples practicing their techniques. Some had runes written on themselves in green blood, looking fierce, while others used knives to draw cut marks on themselves, practicing bloodletting. The most common training was throwing blood into the eyes with various methods, the most direct being throwing blood like darts, and those with agile techniques could even throw out strange circles, making it look like odd weapons. This sect seemed interesting in fights, not afraid of bleeding. In fact, bleeding meant they were truly weaponized. Admire it. When you become inner sect disciples, you can also throw blood as you please. At this moment, Senior Brother Zhu approached and said to the two, "Later, go clean the front courtyard, then you can rest. Tomorrow, I'll teach you the qi and blood transferring skill." At night, Duan Yun and the Murong brothers finally got to eat. A group of outer sect disciples grabbed bowls to get food, only to find it was boiled greens and chicken as usual. Seeing the bland food, the two already filled with anger. What made them even angrier was that the person serving the food, a large pockmarked man, would shake the ladle, emptying it of meat. The only thing in the Murong brothers' bowl besides greens was a chicken butt. The usually mild, tempered Murong brothers couldn't hold back anymore, biting into the chicken butt. He angrily said, "Is that big pockmark sick?" Duan Yun saw the watery broth and said, "That pockmark handles the food. With his two hands, he can't cook or serve food. I'm still growing. Eating like this will surely stunt my growth." As Duan Yun's good partner, the Murong brothers immediately understood, eyes shining, "Leave this to me." That night, the third elder's brother-in-law, the pockmarked man, slipped into the latrine and broke both hands. He recounted when he suddenly got dizzy and fell headfirst into the pit, waking up not only with head injuries but also both hands broken. This meant the pockmarked man couldn't serve food for a while. Though the food was still boiled vegetables, at least whoever was serving it wouldn't shake it so crazily. In the afternoon, Senior Brother Zhu gathered the 6 newly recruited outer sect disciples together and said, "Do you feel our Iron Blood sect's food is tasteless?" Duan Yun and the others remained silent. Not speaking also expressed their attitude, dissatisfaction with the food. Senior Brother Zhu smiled, saying, "The essence of our Iron Blood sect can train blood to turn green. When the green blood appears, it allows for carnal pleasures and killing, a satisfying mix. This technique doesn't require innate talent, but it is domineering. One has to eat light to avoid being overwhelmed by the practiced qi blood. Understand?" The Murong brothers couldn't help but question, "Does that mean we'll have to eat bland forever?" Senior Brother Zhu sneered, "Not willing to pay even that small price? What's the point of delicious food? If you can practice the Iron Blood technique, the pleasure of being with women far surpasses eating rotten meat. The most important thing is power." Although Duan Yun and the Murong brothers, being food enthusiasts, didn't quite agree, the other outer sect members seemed to agree. 2 of them leered and uttered carnal words as if possessed. "I fancy the older sister next door," one said with a sly grin. The other responded, "I fancy the village belle from our village." As they spoke, they laughed even more sinisterly. Seeing this, Senior Brother Zhu displayed approval, as if teaching a talented student. Duan Yun frowned slightly. This was certainly not a technique issue. Thinking of carnality before even beginning to practice was surely a mindset problem. Those kinds of people are unworthy of martial arts practice. That night, the 2 outer sect disciples with the problematic mindsets also fell in the latrine. Unlike the pockmarked man, they did not break their hands, but one broke his manhood and the other smashed a testicle. Now, any carnal thoughts would be impotent. Seeing their injuries, the Iron Blood sect, knowing they couldn't do heavy work anymore, expelled them. Of course, the entry fee was non-refundable. In no time, the latrine became the most dangerous spot at the Iron Blood sect, leading some to suspect it was haunted, given it was dug up from an old grave mound. All of this credit went to the increasingly skilled Murong brothers. Due to the ghost rumors, some Iron Blood sect disciples preferred to relieve themselves in the wild at night instead of going to the latrine. On the 4th day, After 4 days of promises, Zhu Dakai, the second senior brother, finally taught Duan Yun and the Murong brothers a qi and blood transferring method, blood rushing skill. This technique, for those with talent, shows results in 10 days. Unexpectedly, Duan Yun and the Murong brothers, rare cultivation geniuses, achieved results after practicing it only twice. The Murong brothers, face flushed, said, "I feel like that thing in the crotch, and just saw a naked beauty. My entire being feels odd." Indeed, he felt every part of him was in a state of fullness, unable to relax. While practicing, Duan Yun sighed, "Truly a bizarre technique. Definitely needs some adjustments. Extraordinary wisdom. Come forth." This blood-rushing skill is clearly an 18-hand imprint version, handwritten in sloppy, crooked words like chicken scratches. With Brother Murong's expertise as an old riverside in martial arts, he even found quite a few ambiguous typos in it. It's a bit taxing for him, but for Duan Yun it's just homophones. Mistakes or not make little difference. Yet looking at the wrinkled, tattered cultivation technique, he still felt a strong sense of discrimination. Especially Brother Murong, whose face turned green. Today he spent the entire day washing toilets, finally getting a chance to learn martial arts, only to end up with this? He's usually more temperate than Duan Yun, but at this point, his hair was standing on end, looking at the ragged imprint and couldn't help but get angry, complaining, "I came along to reform the martial world, not to suffer." This time, Duan Yun felt for the first time the plight of the bottom level of the martial world. You spent a considerable amount of money, 100 taels of silver, which may be all the savings of an ordinary martial artist, and after paying you still have to do menial tasks like washing a pile of toilets like Brother Murong, yet you don't get any decent guidance, and the cultivation technique you receive is this perfunctory, just because you are an outer sect disciple. If a martial artist stays long-term in such oppressive environments, some form of psychological illness is sure to develop, and when they truly achieve their training, they might want to take revenge on the martial world. Yes, it's miserable up front, like now, Duan Yun and Brother Murong want to kill everyone in the Iron Blood sect, but once you complete your training, theoretically everyone you want to kill becomes one of your own, and you can't kill them. So you can only kill outsiders. But you can't handle outside masters, and those at your similar level are risky to confront, so you can only target weaker people. In short, you can't escape this cycle. If you can't take revenge and vent, then wasn't all your suffering and training in vain? Perhaps this is one of the reasons the martial world is filled with treachery and murder. Never mind if this martial art is crazy. This sect's disgusting environment drives everyone close to insanity. Especially when Duan Yun and Brother Murong imagined, if they were not one in a million cultivation geniuses, after years passing without mastering anything and unwilling to resign, they could only continue in the sect paying money to work like cattle, getting drained of all savings and life force. Just thinking about it is terrifying. Damn it. Really want to kill all the people who came up with all these cattle tricks. First, find out who's behind this routine, then settle the score later, Duan Yun said. Upon hearing that, Brother Murong quickly grabbed a little notebook and jotted it down. Yes, he now also likes to jot things down in the little notebook. At this moment, Brother Murong complained, "This lousy chi blood method. Not only is it incomplete, a lot of characters are wrong too." Duan Yun replied with a serious look, "I like incomplete chapters." "Ha! Incomplete chapters have more room for creativity," Duan Yun answered. The next moment, he had already started cultivating according to this ragged manual. In the time it takes for half a cup of tea, Duan Yun opened his eyes, thinking, done! This so-called blood-rushing skill is quite simple, it's just about stirring up the chi blood. To stir up chi blood, the guy who imprinted the manual even wrote down his experience, which is to visualize the seductive widow next door undressed, pleading to sleep with him. This is the most straightforward and pure method to stir chi blood, which Duan Yun actually mastered years ago. The learning materials were not in vain. Duan Yun quickly replaced his visualization object with the goddess catcher sisters, Shening, Fenglinger, Ziyu, and even added Fu Wanjun and Yu Jinjin. In a finger snap, his chi blood was aroused to the extreme, complemented by the breathing method and the imposing hand gestures of the manual, transforming his whole spirit and energy. This is the gap between a genius and an ordinary person. The imprinter only knew to visualize a seductive widow, because that's the extent of his vision. But Duan Yun is different. He's seen many women, many vividly present around him. Now these beauties were lined up in his sea of consciousness, either naked or wearing nothing but stockings. Just in terms of number and style, he's way ahead, far and beyond. He could effortlessly visualize 7 women simultaneously. It looks simple, after all. Anyone has seen scenes with a group of teachers performing together. But in reality, it's absolutely not simple, because there's a level difference between what ordinary people can perceive and what young hero Duan can see. Generally, a person only has one pair of eyes and one brain, forming priority unconsciously. Like if you think of the goddess catcher sisters and detail them, you'll instinctively overlook the details of other women. But Duan Yun is different. He constantly visualizes Dharma images, better embodied with wings and soaring, with extraordinary wisdom, treating all equally in his brain. Every visualization object is vivid, as if he had 7 pairs of eyes working simultaneously, observing each woman separately, forming visual images in the brain of extraordinary wisdom. 7 threads following, all being priorities. Afterward, his mind moved, adding Ming Xing into the mix. This woman, who was slightly inferior before, further aroused his chi blood desire. Thinking of himself as a great hero, treating all equally, later Duan Yun included Dharma image Xiao Yu and Little Qing, mixing in tricks of reincarnation. On the surface, he appeared no different from the pure love brother Murong beside him, who only visualized Ning Qing, but in reality, the scenes in their sea of consciousness had already formed a huge chasm in terms of level. This is the difference between small love and great love, single core and 10 core. Then, as the breathing continued, the Murong brothers blushed and their hearts began to race, wondering if this was disrespectful to Ning Qing. While on the other side, Duan Yun felt his entire being ignite, his blood boiling, and he had a strong urge to launch himself out completely. Flames engulf him. If it weren't for the fact that he was still an outer disciple and needed to keep a low profile, the heroic fire might have already burst along with the fire of desire, burning the house down. The Murong brothers were dumbfounded by this scene. Why is there such a big gap? Duan Yun seemingly found the knack. His whole body was terrifyingly brimming. It could be said he was at the peak of blood rushing, the ultimate among blood rushing. He began to understand why the people of the Iron Blood sect needed to eat clear broth and slim pickings. This blood-rushing skill was truly a paradigm of how spiritual visualization influences the physical body. Once it reaches a certain level, it feels as if there's a real fire burning inside, with the lighter effects leaving one parched and mentally fatigued, and the heavier effects causing the fire to rush to the brain and make one a fool. The secret manual, up to this point, had taught blood rushing successfully, and it seemed this half-volume remnants had been almost practiced to completion. But the next page really gave Duan Yun a scare. Because, although the blood had rushed open by now, it had not yet sunk into the blood, failing to practice iron blood. The key to achieving iron blood is the collection after the rush. As per the manual's words, the initial printers were guided by experts within the sect, emphasizing that the blood collection after blood rushing is crucial, which means incorporating yin within yang under the premise of blood being rushed. The manual also detailed the method of collection, which is to instantly forget women and start visualizing men. While visualizing men, one must still maintain the blood rush. Only then can one perfectly collect blood and grasp the essence of iron blood. Duan Yun roughly understood his meaning. Bloody hell, how much does this resemble collecting sauce in cooking, adding leftover water and seasonings, yet the fire can't be stopped. And visualizing men, that's adding yin within this yang, yet the fire of blood rush must not be extinguished. The imprinter visualized his godfather, feeling he had an air of his godmother, thus loving the house and its crow. He could barely muster up some movement. At this moment, Duan Yun's extraordinary wisdom was a bit stalled. This shift, he struggled to rise up. It's easy for him to be stirred by women, he could even rush with 10 cores simultaneously. But with men, he just couldn't. He forcefully visualized a few handsome men like Tianla, Yanzu, Dehua. Yet still didn't work. Damn whoever wrote this shitty manual and shitty knack. I'll kill your whole family. Just when Duan Yun was about to give up on this method, his extraordinary wisdom suddenly sparked. Forget Tianle, Yanzu, they all vanished, replaced by himself. Yes, himself. Some people can never be turned into male estrogen by beatings, but everyone can be narcissistic. In fact, quite adept at it. Duan Yun visualized himself in the sea of consciousness, imagining every muscle and inch of skin becoming perfect, and discovered he could still rush blood. He quickly realized this actually works. The manual ended there, and the next was a new breathing method, leaving only the words Qi blood gold, forward, and nothing more. Cuts off worse than an eunuch. But Duan Yun frowned, whispering, extraordinary wisdom, fill in the insights for me. The next moment, his extraordinary wisdom began to churn, and in the sea of consciousness, the 4 characters Qi blood gold seemed to be seen through. Practicing martial arts is like completing a close. As long as the context is combined, one can fill in the gaps. What Duan Yun needed to do now was simply to complete the next part. Through those 4 words, Qi blood gold, he already saw it's a breathing method concerning the movement of Qi and blood. Now, Qi blood gold is the starting point. Where the end point is, that's unknown. Not knowing isn't important, just like people, the key is to be on the road. Then let's start moving. The initially restless Qi and blood began to flow with Duan Yun's automatically completed breathing method, circulating within his body. This flow was initially not smooth, it was all a trial after all, several times even giving a sense of blockage in the meridians. Duan Yun suspected it had formed thrombosis-like conditions. But it wasn't a problem for him. He could disperse the thrombosis with the sword Qi in his body. He still believed the key was to move it. What's the saying? Just drive, and leave the rest to extraordinary wisdom. After such blockage for a stick of incense's time, Duan Yun found the Qi and blood really started running. Running faster and faster. The turbulent blood water like a torrent, with his visualization and breathing, began to gradually generate something new. Blood. New blood. Young hero, I've succeeded. Duan Yun knew in this closed test he got it right again. A new kind of blood had emerged in his body. This blood is probably the green blood of the Iron Blood sect, newly born and increasing within his body. Like those from the Iron Blood sect, when it gets overwhelming, he'll feel the urge to let blood. This blood can't be too excessive for now. Duan Yun stopped his breathing. At this moment, he suddenly noticed the Murong siblings watching him, holding the last page of a manuscript with a playful look. Duan Yun furrowed his eyebrows and said, "Are you planning on rushing me?" Murong siblings shrugged and replied, "There's no one else here. I'm a man. Can you really rush me?" Duan Yun said with a face full of astonishment. "Barely possible," Murong siblings answered. Duan Yun felt the urge to knock his head open and quickly said, "Think about yourself. It's best if you rush yourself." He shared the tips he gleaned from the extraordinary wisdom with Murong siblings. "Really?" Murong said excitedly. Soon, he began to envision himself. After a while, he opened his eyes with a pained expression and said, "Why can't I do it when I think of myself? Could it be that even I think I'm too ugly?" Saying this, he looked at Duan Yun again. With a slap, a loud ear-piercing sound echoed. Duan Yun slapped him and earnestly said, "You are the most handsome." Murong brothers blinked, seeming skeptical. "Really?" With another slap, another loud sound echoed. "Do you think I wouldn't know if you're handsome or not? Not just within Yuzhu Manor are you the most handsome, but even in Yushu town, you're the best among neighboring towns." Duan Yun worried he might think of himself too lowly, quickly encouraged him against his better judgment. Another slap, yet another loud sound echoed. "If you weren't handsome, would Ning Qing be interested in you? Ning Qing is a fairy from Mingyu Palace. Could her judgment be poor?" After 10 slaps, Murong's siblings blinked, his face covered in slap marks, and began to brim with confidence. "I am indeed the most handsome. I have always been the most talented and handsome in 3 generations of the Murong family. Afterwards, he truly immersed himself in the role, and the blood initially boiling within him gradually settled. However, he couldn't automatically complete the breathing method like Duan-yun to circulate chi blood, only feeling the chi blood still hot and even thickening. He stood there, feeling his entire body tensed up. To Duan-yun's eyes, he even seemed to emit a red glow with a sharp head appearance. "Are you okay?" Duan-yun asked. Morong's siblings replied perplexed. "Why do I feel like hitting people, making blood fly around? The more chaotic the better." Now, he indeed appeared to be in a state of excitement. If the heart remains as an icy calm, the sky will not be frightening. Amidst change, hold firm, calm and serene. Empty void, tranquility reigns, with nothingness it blends. The old riverside Morong siblings realized this might be a sign of losing control. Though losing control is not necessarily madness, it's no minor issue. He quickly operated the ice heart technique to calm himself down. Duan-yun, seeing his gradually returning to normal, relaxed a breath. Indeed, he hadn't taught Morong siblings the breathing method mainly out of concern that the initial congestion might be too much for him. He could burst through the congestion by relying on the stored chi within his body, unsure if Morong siblings could do the same. Still, somehow he managed to get through. By relying on half a book of blood-rushing skill, with incomplete words substituted liberally, he comprehended the iron blood sex method of generating blood. What are the wonders of the blood produced? Just as Duan-yun was about to continue researching, Morong's siblings suddenly said, "What a lovely scent." Duan-yun asked, puzzled, "What's delightful scent?" Morong's siblings looked at him, saying, "Brother, you smell delightful." "Me?" Duan-yun wanted to slap him twice again, but just then he also smelled a scent. "Herbal scent? Do I have a herbal scent?" The iron blood sect treats its outer disciples extremely poorly, not even considering them as their own. They treat them worse than cattle and horses, with the utmost ruthlessness. The room where Duan-yun and the Morong brothers lived was, of course, also poor. A mud wall and thatched house, with the stables right next to it, emanating a foul stench. But at this moment, a mysterious herbal aroma actually overshadowed the stable's foul smell, truly miraculous. After hearing the Morong brothers' words, Duan-yun sniffed carefully and discovered that this herbal aroma was indeed emanating from his body. Could it be the newly formed blood? Duan-yun concentrated his thoughts, his mind sinking into his body, extending a finger. Swish, swish, swish. A stream of blood shot from his fingertip into the bowl. The herbal aroma in the air suddenly became more pronounced. The Morong brothers took another sniff of Duan-yun and found that he was no longer as fragrant, leaving them somewhat disappointed. Their gazes quickly focused on the blood in the bowl. There wasn't much blood, and its color had a faint greenish tinge, not very apparent, but the herbal aroma was quite real. At that moment, Duan-yun even felt like he had returned to his old home in Lishui City. At that time, as a gynecologist, he saw patients and prepared medicine daily and was covered in this kind of scent. However, the herbal fragrance of this bowl of blood was extremely complex, possibly containing dozens or even hundreds of components, beyond his professional discernment. The Morong brothers, staring at this bowl of blood, felt refreshed just by its scent. Though not an expert in pharmacology, he could sense the blood was quite extraordinary. Duan-yun picked up the bowl of blood he had just refined, asking, "Do you want to try its effects?" The Morong brothers showed a wary expression, as this blood, though fragrant, had unknown ingredients. As the saying goes, medicine, 3 parts poison. He didn't want to be poisoned to death by old demon Duan's blood. Duan-yun looked at his sparse hair and said, "Then try it as a topical application first." So, the Morong brothers applied a layer of the blood on his head, only to find the scent delightful, better than the skin-nourishing lotion from the heavenly water pavilion. The next day, Duan-yun was awakened by the Morong brothers' strange screams. "Hair! My hair!" Duan-yun was startled. His first reaction was to think the hair had fallen out. Then there would be a big problem with this blood. When the Morong brothers came in, Duan-yun was really shocked. It wasn't that the Murong brothers had lost their hair, but that they had too much. If yesterday it was a sparse Mediterranean on top, now it was a dense head of hair, even a bit curly. If dyed yellow and red, one might think he came from the western regions. Honestly, his slightly curly hair reminded Duan Yun of Bu Jingyun, portrayed by He Rundong. Now with a face somewhat resembling De Hua, topped with Bu Jingyun's hair, though peculiar, it was much better than the Mediterranean look. The Murong brothers were extremely delighted, couldn't help but flip a few somersaults like a monkey on the spot. At this moment, he picked up the remaining blood in that bowl. Seeing this, Duan Yun said, "What are you doing? It's been sitting overnight. It's expired. Expired or not, I'll still taste it for saltiness." Saying that, he took a gulp. Only one gulp, as the taste wasn't much different from drinking medicine. Not tasty. That day, after the Murong brothers finished scrubbing the toilet, he even volunteered to wash underwear, and after washing underwear he went to feed the horses, bathed the horses, and was still plastering the new house till midnight. Duan Yun was shocked. This guy used to complain as soon as he started working, always threatening to kill everyone, downright extreme. But today he actually volunteered for work, did so much work, yet returned with a peaceful face. Duan Yun couldn't help but wonder if this guy couldn't endure hardships anymore. Was this a sign of going mad? Some people become especially calm and gentle before going mad, akin to the calm before a storm. Duan Yun couldn't help but say, "Don't get too extreme. I haven't even started the transformation yet." The Murong brothers said, "What extreme? I feel great now, full of energy, and can even feel the beauty of compassionate heart." Compassionate heart? The Murong brothers said earnestly, "Don't you understand medical practitioners' compassionate heart? If everyone showed a bit more love, the martial world would become a wonderful place." The true medical practitioner's compassionate heart. Duan Yun heard the green blade demon dare to speak like this in front of him, wished to stab him twice. But it was clear, what the Murong brothers were saying wasn't false. Though he did so much work this year, he was unusually calm, without a trace of aggression. Saying that, he began looking around. Duan Yun couldn't help asking, "What are you looking for? Where's the remaining blood?" The Murong brothers asked. "Poured it away." Duan Yun replied, "Poured it? Such a miraculous blood you poured away, you don't know, after I drank that blood, how peaceful my mind and body were, and so full of energy." The Murong brothers exclaimed. Saying that, he looked at Duan Yun again, saying, "How about you refine some again tonight?" "No, I still feel there's something wrong with this cultivation technique." Duan Yun pondered. "What's wrong?" The Murong brothers asked, bewildered. "The new blood I refined has a herbal aroma. If all the blood in my body turned like that, wouldn't I become a walking medicinal herb?" Duan Yun pondered. The Murong brothers fell into contemplation, saying, "You've reminded me, there was a very dark period in the martial arts world, during which many evil demons were skilled in planting medicinal herbs." Planting medicinal herbs? Using humans as herbs, those who cultivated evil skills would become great medicines themselves, consumed by evil demons. The Murong brothers answered, "So they eat people?" Duan Yun said, expression serious. "At that time, people were herbs, herbs were people. Would evil demons care about these things?" But later, some proud disciples of major sects, like the sect leader of the Huangshan sword sect's own son, also got turned into great medicine and eaten, sparking a lot of outrage from martial world sects. They usually turned a blind eye to these matters. Some higher-ups even secretly tried to start medicinal gardens. But when it truly affected them, they couldn't take it. Thus, the martial arts sects of the martial world united with the Qingqi Bureau to launch a large-scale purge of the wicked demons cultivating herbs. After that, the cultivation technique of using people as herbs became rare. At this point, the Murong brothers looked at Duan Yun and said, "As expected of you, you took an 18-hand facsimile and created your own demon cultivation technique." Yes, the blood refining technique of the Iron Blood sect was already somewhat sinister. They often wanted to bleed at the slightest provocation. But with this said, it felt like old Demon Duan took an incomplete beginner's manual and made something even more sinister. Duan Yun frowned and said, "Great medicine skills? So the Iron Blood sect practices great medicine skills. Murong brothers? No, brother, you're the one who made it sound like great medicine skills. This Iron Blood sect's blood is just used to spray people's eyes, not like medicine at all." At this point, Duan Yun's expression darkened and he said, "No. Tell me, what is the principle of great medicine skills?" The Murong brothers attempted to explain. "How should I put it? Great medicine skills is about people practicing their own cultivation technique. For instance, those practicing Evil Blade would ingest medicine from someone practicing Evil Blade, and it would rapidly increase their powers." Duan Yun said, "That's not right. Great medicine skills feels like it's a dedicated plug. Mine is more like central air conditioning." Ha! The Murong brothers didn't understand the metaphor of plugs and air conditioning, somewhat confused. "Mine is obviously the heroic skill, just like some women are devoted to one man, you could say they're a chaste man. But if a woman could solve all men's troubles..." Duan Yun tried to give an example. The Murong brothers replied, "Wouldn't that be Lin Yusin, who even beggars can mess with?" Duan Yun said, "Nonsense. If a woman can solve all men's troubles, she would be a bodhisattva." The Murong brothers suddenly understood. Their eyes lit up, and they said, "I get it. Your blood can even cure my hair woes, and if it can cure all diseases, then it must be the bodhisattva technique." In that moment, they even thought of a certain person. Roputi. It said that Roputi could save people with his own flesh and blood, even making flesh grow from white bones, rescuing many people, and gathered kind-hearted people like him to form the Bodhi Temple. If Duan Yun's blood could also save people, wouldn't this mean he would be competing with Roputi? Blood Bodhi? When he voiced this thought, Duan Yun's eyes lit up and said, "That's right. If there was one more person in this world saving people with blood, it wouldn't be interesting, but what if it's a group? Not to say making the entire Iron Blood sect like Blood Bodhi. After all, with their sharp-headed stance, they don't have the self-sacrificing enlightenment. But turning them into divine doctors like that of the Jiangzhong sect is possible, even promising. For example, Dr. Xue from the Jiangzhong sect, besides being a big mouth and charging sky-high fees, doesn't have major flaws. And if a group of divine doctors emerged, could the medical sects like Jiangzhong sect still charge exorbitant fees? This world needs healthy competition to solve the problem of difficult medical access. After hearing Duan Yun's plan, the Murong brothers still found it outrageous and said, "You're hoping that sharp-headed group will become doctors to save people?" Duan Yun seriously replied, "Why not? The Iron Blood sect previously had no other option. If they have a path to becoming divine doctors, you'll see if they'll choose it." All in all, although the Iron Blood sect is fierce, spilling blood fiercely and without fear, they have always been a second-rate sect. Otherwise, they wouldn't have fought with gangs like Xuanxiong Gang in Lishui City. Yet the Jiangzhong sect is a first-rate sect, and becoming a divine doctor could lead to making a fortune. Even if this blood isn't as amazing as divine doctors, it should still allow a comfortable life. From now on, it's up to your performance. Duan Yun patted the Murong brothers on the shoulder, sighing. In the following days, the crazy workload of the Murong brothers shocked people. Auxiliary disciples outside the sect complained, saying that this guy would go to any lengths to enter the inner sect, even if it meant losing his dignity. Feeling threatened by the Murong brothers, the remaining auxiliary disciples became more diligent. You could say the competition had begun. The Iron Blood sect was once filled with rough and careless men, but under the perseverance of the Murong brothers, even the latrines became spotless. Li Chun, the vice-sect leader of the Iron Blood sect, had been busy with matters of the Golden Mountain and just returned in the past 2 days. It must be said, although Li Chun had a sharp head and looked like a muscle-bound figure from head to toe, his features were not fierce, appearing somewhere between male and female, giving an ambiguous gender impression. But that was just appearances. The inner disciples of the Iron Blood sect knew that when the second master got angry and tore his clothes, he could tear into someone just as easily as fabric. Seeing the Iron Blood sect so clean piqued his curiosity, so he grabbed someone to inquire. He found out that among the outer disciples, there was someone talented, tirelessly working on dirty chores, believing that if everyone contributed a bit of love, the Iron Blood sect could be both iron-blooded and tender like water. A born ox or horse? Li Chun exclaimed in surprise. You must know, it had been a long time since he'd encountered such a person. Many of the outer disciples complained about the high entrance fees, or how dirty, tiring, and abundant the work was. Where is the cost high? Where is the work abundant? He questioned. Are these outer disciples supposed to be oxen and horses, mere cannon fodder, or should he become one instead? If they don't pay, don't work, how do they prove their loyalty to the Iron Blood sect, and how else will they be taught supreme techniques? Li Chun nodded, feeling very gratified. Give him the complete external sect manual in advance. This kind of natural workhorse truly deserves reward and to be made an exemplar. Little did they know, because of the Murong brothers' crazy rivalry, many people in the external sect wanted to kill his entire family. Some, already weakened in chi blood, directly collapsed and had to be carried away. After paying 100 taels of silver, without even learning the moves of a slightly feisty widow or widower, they were sent away. How could there not be anger? If curses could kill, Ning Qing would have lost her lover 100 times over by now. When the Murong brothers, in front of all the external sect disciples, obtained the complete manual, the resentment accumulated on him was overwhelming. Many people wished they could curse him to death from exhaustion. But instead of slacking off after getting the manual, the Murong brothers became even more diligent. At night, some even heard him while in the latrine, secretly shouting, "Mu de Hua, it's not enough. Let me see how far you can go." The Murong brothers' alias in the Iron Blood sect was Mu de Hua, while Duan Yun was called Duan Chenggu, both names given by Duan Yun. Yes, after obtaining the complete Chi blood method, the Murong brothers became more proactive, working even through the midnight hours, for 2 consecutive nights without rest. This even prompted the black-hearted second master, Li Chun, to send someone to persuade him. "De Hua, take a break. You not resting makes me anxious," senior brother Zhu advised, under instruction. The Murong brothers replied, "No rest. As an external sect disciple, I am very self-aware. My eyes and hands must always be busy." Hearing this, senior brother Zhu even felt frightened. His fear was similar to that of second master Li Chun's, fearing the Murong brothers would die from exhaustion. This kind of natural workhorse is hard to find. If it dies from exhaustion, there'd be no exemplar for the external sect, and the Iron Blood sect wouldn't be as pristine and wonderful. Workhorses need to be continuously squeezed dry, until the last drop of value is drained at death. Sudden death is not what they want to see. Seeing senior brother Zhu's uneasy look, following Duan Yun's instructions, the Murong brothers said, "Senior brother, there's really no need to worry about me. After practicing the blood-rushing skill and blood sedimentation technique, I feel my whole body is filled with strength, not tired at all. I even feel that while practicing, a fragrance emerges." Senior brother Zhu blinked and said, "Fragrance, just like a kind of medicinal scent, making one feel refreshed, never fatigued. Look at me. After all this practice, my hair has even become much thicker," the Murong brothers explained. Senior brother Zhu suddenly realized. Yes, this guy, despite being so exhausted, practiced the blood-rushing skill and blood sedimentation technique, and not only did he not lose hair, it even became thicker? One must know, in the Iron Blood sect, losing hair during practice is actually a pain in the hearts of many sect members. After all, some were quite handsome before mastering their skills, but become ugly due to hair loss. At this moment, he sniffed with his nose and indeed caught a medicinal scent. That medicinal scent was exactly from the blood Duan Yun applied on the Murong brothers. Senior brother Zhu was suddenly tense. "Junior brother Dahua, tell me, how do you practice it?" The Murong brothers' eyes slightly brightened, secretly saying, "Finally, took the bait." Yes, these past few days, he didn't dare to practice Duan Yun's blood Bodhi cultivation technique, due to past experience. Before, when practicing Duan Yun's technique, he originally wanted to become Fallen, but ended up becoming Yang Ding Tian, and while practicing with Duan Yun in Mingyu Palace, the other party developed Divine Needle. Yet he became the White Tiger. Who knows what practicing this seemingly blood Bodhi cultivation technique would turn into? Such lightning, better let the Iron Blood sect people step on it first. Yes, when inexperienced it was naivety and ignorance, stepping on thunder was just stepping on it. But with experience he couldn't let himself step on it again, right? This depends on the performance of the Iron Blood sect disciples. Seeing senior brother Zhu's thirst for knowledge, naturally, the Murong brothers imparted all they knew. In his notebook, he remembered this guy's name. Although not the instigator of the Black Heart sect rules, he was an enforcer. A strict enforcer. Yes, initially, when rules were set above, loosening a bit below wasn't an issue, but this guy not only didn't loosen but also exacerbated things, first making him wash underwear in toilets. Seeing this guy's delighted departure after gaining experience, the Murong brothers couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. After being a workhorse for so many days, finally, there's some payoff. Let's see if you can withstand the hero technique modified by Old Demon Duan. Senior brother Zhu is the most loyal disciple of the second master, Li Chun, essentially a lackey. Upon obtaining the Murong brothers' cultivation technique, Zhu Xiaoming hurried to inform Li Chun of this astonishing news. The martial world has always had methods for testing skills, but who would have thought they struck gold this time? Not only did they get someone naturally predisposed, who was obsessed with servitude, voluntarily cleaning toilets and underwear, but he also discovered something good. You really smelled the medicinal fragrance on him? Li Chun wasn't initially concerned, but hearing this, he perked up. Sect leader, it's completely true. Dehua, this unique individual, he's different. He was bald before, his head as pointy as ours, but after training, he grew a head of beautiful hair. Zhu Xiaoming explained. At this point, the face of Li Chun, second master of the Iron Blood sect, changed. You start practicing. Practice well. Even if this guy hit the jackpot by accident, it's still fortunate for you, Li Chun said earnestly. Saying this, he instructed Zhu Xiaoming to thoroughly write down the cultivation technique mentioned by the Murong brothers. He certainly wouldn't practice it immediately. As an old Riverside veteran who has navigated the martial world for years, due caution was always necessary. When dealing with unclear cultivation techniques, let the subordinates try first. In case of trouble, they go first. This is the principle by which martial world leaders act. Zhu Xiaoming understood that the sect leader wanted him to try the technique. Instead of resisting, he was excited. After all, the second master deemed him worthy to try it. Why doesn't he let others try it? It's because they can't be trusted. And if Li Chun did let someone else try it, he would have an excuse, which is that the second master cares too much for him to do such things. In any case, Zhu Xiaoming was willing. After all, he liked how the second master seemed gentle but was actually muscular. This contrast was irresistible to him. Yes, ever since he first saw Li Chun and wanted to ravage women in the street, he ended up liking this extraordinary man. To repay the second master's trust, Zhu Xiaoming was very proactive and started practicing immediately. In recent days, the Murong brothers were also trying to practice blood refinement in Duan Yun's way, but there was a slight difference in their method compared to Duan Yun's. He worked tirelessly these days without complaints, not only because he was inspired by his scheming intentions but also because he drank the blood refined by Duan Yun. It must be said that old demon Duan's blood is truly miraculous, providing him with abundant energy and making him enjoy working even more. In other words, since drinking this blood, he developed a liking for being ordered around and enjoyed cleaning toilets and washing underwear. Simply put, he got addicted to being hardworking, and if someone whipped and insulted him along the way, he would enjoy it even more. The Murong brothers always had the illusion that continuing like this might lead them to sanctification through servitude. Thus, while contemplating, he gradually merged himself into his labor. That is to say, among his imagined figures, sometimes there were minotaurs and sometimes there were centaurs. Therefore, while cleaning toilets, he was struck with inspiration and wrote a poem. Gaze at the starry sky, a true man. Down to earth, a true servant. Moo 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 moo. With this, he shared these insights with senior brother Zhu Xiaoming. And so at night, the second master Li Chun image Zhu Xiaoming fantasized about gradually turned into a human-headed, bull-bodied figure. Later, it morphed into a horse-bodied human. Eventually, he suddenly came to a realization, as if extraordinary wisdom flashed, merging the bull and horse forms into one. Thus, what appeared in his sea of consciousness was a figure with a human head, left side being a bull's body with hooves, and the right side a horse's body with hooves. When he fused this image and complemented it with the Murong brothers' second teaching of the blood sedimentation technique, it suddenly seemed he captured the essence. Initially, he thought the blood sedimentation technique, derived from the iron blood sect's original technique, was still somewhat impure, but once he practiced it, the bull-horse figure in his sea of consciousness became very clear. It was like a bull-horse man stomping firmly on solid ground, diligently pioneering, watching the land beneath him become more fertile with crops flourishing, and an indescribable joy surged, making him wish to dance a homegrown dance. Then suddenly he twitched his nose, questioning, "I smell so good. Really, I truly succeeded. Turns out I'm a genius. Give me blood coagulation." For all these years, Zhu Xiaoming has been a veteran of the Iron Blood sect, yet he could only manage mundane chores involving outer disciples because his blood was not pure enough. In the Iron Blood sect, the greener one's blood is, the purer it is, earning them greater respect. This is the true hierarchy of blood. His level has always been light green. To the medium green disciples of the Iron Blood sect, he was simply marked as inferior to me. Those inferior to me are barely considered human. He saw outer disciples as livestock, and medium green disciples regarded him similarly. Heavy green disciples were the backbone of the sect, recognizing only those greener or the three sect masters as human. It must be noted that some of these medium and heavy green disciples were once the outer disciples he recruited. He didn't regard outer disciples as human, and in the end, some would rise against him, relishing the reversal of fortunes, which was too difficult to endure. At this moment, Zhu Xiaoming only felt like life had secretly opened a window for him. He was finally ready to succeed again. He loved this feeling, the feeling of confidence. Confident as if he possessed extraordinary wisdom. Previously, he just hadn't found the right path. This path was the correct one. In this intense sensation, he accelerated his blood-drowning practice. The newly generated blood and his originally light green iron blood seemed clearly distinct yet filled with vitality. After that, Zhu Xiaoming practiced day and night. The iron blood sect's method for blood drowning was not easy to practice. Firstly, the gender transformation within the consciousness consumed a lot of mental energy. Quite a few disciples went crazy at this step. Yes, the initial rush of hot blood fills them with lustful thoughts, but they don't know if they want a man or a woman. Really, they couldn't tell. They truly couldn't distinguish if they liked men, women, or hermaphrodites. Some even felt that there shouldn't be just 2 or 3 genders in the world. What they liked might be a gender other than male, female, or hermaphrodite. But they couldn't find it, nowhere to vent their hot blood, and trying to give them a feeling of eating shit, so they went crazy. The gender transformation in the sea of consciousness that aroused bloodlust consumed mental energy, and the method for manipulating chi blood extremely drained physical strength. After all, when manipulating chi blood, every muscle in the body had to rhythmically move along. Practicing this way, at most 1 hour would leave the whole body sore and in pain. So, in the Iron Blood sect, men often trampled on each other, making noises to relax their muscles. This was a common scene. But Zhu Xiaoming practiced day and night, without distinguishing between them. Even deep green disciples practiced only 3 hours a day before having to rest, needing fellow medium green and light green disciples to help them relax. But Zhu Xiaoming practiced, sleeping only 2 hours. Many people thought this guy was going mad, that continuing this way would definitely lead to sudden death. But it didn't. The more he practiced, the more energetic he became, even radiating an aura of enduring hardship. Enduring hardship became an enjoyment instead. Being a beast of burden is truly satisfying. That was Zhu Xiaoming's most authentic thought. Li Chun watched this, only finding it miraculous. And then something even more surprising happened. That day, Zhu Xiaoming, who originally had little hair, appeared in everyone's sight with a head of dark green curly hair and emitted a medicinal fragrance all over. The previously indifferent medium green and heavy green disciples couldn't help but sneak up to him and say, "Light green senior brother, you smell so good. By the way, what is your name?" "Zhu Xiaoming," Zhu Xiaoming said seriously. Seeing a group of medium green and heavy green disciples so interested in and attentive to him, Zhu Xiaoming felt like he was reclaiming everything he had lost. Backyard, martial arts arena. Duan Yun and the Murong brothers, like other disciples, stretched their necks to watch the commotion inside. Due to the request of second master Li Chun, the inner sect disciples were having a sparring session. Logically, someone like Zhu Xiaoming, who was light green, could only serve as a punching bag in the Iron Blood sect's inner sect. But today, Zhu Xiaoming was using medium green disciples as punching bags. He had already achieved 5 consecutive victories. Facing second master Li Chun, Zhu Xiaoming was brimming with unprecedented arrogance and said, "Sect leader, like this, I feel like I can take on 10. Li Chun sighed, "Xiaoming, you're too arrogant." Zhu Xiaoming shook his head and said, "No, sect leader. I only now realize that I might have extraordinary wisdom, a rare talent for blood refining." Upon hearing him confidently express such a thought, many fellow disciples were displeased. After all, light green was the lowest tier of the inner sect. In the past, even licking their boots wouldn't be deserving of gratitude from them. Now, Zhu Xiaoming was so arrogant it was intolerable. But the Murong brothers couldn't help but look at Duan Yun, questioning, "If we didn't know better, we'd think you had taken over his mind." Indeed, today Zhu Xiaoming seemed like a different person. Clearly so average. No, he's not so average anymore, and he's gained unprecedented confidence. This confidence even had a slight resemblance to old Demon Duan, who was famous in the rumors. Observing this, Li Chun burst out angrily, "Everyone shut up! Stop the racket, do you think I'm dead? Everyone, back down now." At that moment, the muscles under his clothes seemed about to burst, giving a huge sense of oppression. "Zhu Xiaoming, come to my room later." Li Chun's outburst silenced everyone immediately, and the scene dispersed. Actually, they didn't know that Li Chun was ecstatic beneath his angry exterior. In less than 10 days, if even someone as worthless as Zhu Xiaoming could achieve this with the cultivation technique, what would I, a truly rare blood refining genius, accomplish? He called Zhu Xiaoming over, praised him heavily, and asked about his cultivation insights. Facing second master Li Chun, Zhu Xiaoming was like a lover who could never get him yet always longed for him, naturally giving all he had. The more Li Chun listened, the more spirited he became, and smelling the medicinal scent on Zhu Xiaoming, he couldn't help but massage his shoulders. "Good, good. Xiaoming. I said this is your blessing." Since Zhu Xiaoming's test had already brought blessings, now it was time for him to reap his blessings. Li Chun quickly closed the door and began to cultivate intensely. Intense cultivation. All these years, he was dissatisfied with himself for being stuck under the sect leader. But no matter how he practiced blood refining, his blood was green and thick as mercury, still inferior to the sect leader. Now he had a chance. He had the opportunity to get rid of the sect leader. Yes, he wanted to get rid of the sect leader, not to become the leader but for love. The Iron Blood sect leader Blood 3 disliked disciples having attachments, so he would sell their lovers to brothels to ensure they could concentrate on cultivation. Li Chun was one of them. His newlywed wife was sold to a brothel by Blood 3, and he could only watch. Otherwise, he wouldn't be taught martial arts. To learn martial arts, he endured his new wife falling into the brothel life. Blood 3 always said this was thoughtful for his disciples, and no one dared to oppose him. When Li Chun had truly achieved results in the Iron Blood sect and became the second master, having dozens of women more beautiful than his newlywed wife posed no problem for fun. In the pit of the night, he still dreamt of his first wife's image. He believed it was all Blood 3's fault. He wanted to kill Blood 3 but couldn't. Now the opportunity was here. Li Chun closed his door to cultivate, and Zhu Xiaoming's prior performance had long aroused dissatisfaction in others. Secretly, peers came to find fault with him. But peers were astonishingly discovering that this guy could really take on 10 people, including a deep green disciple. Everyone then realized, Zhu Xiaoming had practiced a new technique. This bastard had been sucking up to the second master all day. Did the second master give him special treatment? In the Iron Blood sect, there was nothing but muscle and practice. Everyone pursued martial arts. Immediately, everyone was eager to know what this new technique was. Very quickly, it was discovered that this involved the new outer sect disciple Mu Dehua, because his hair was the same and spitting image of Zhu Xiaoming's. So the Murong brothers were compelled to ask about it, and Mu Dehua couldn't help but share everything as a weak outer sect disciple. So, Zhu Xiaoming didn't have time to stop it, and this devil's modification technique spread through the Iron Blood sect like wildfire. Zhu Xiaoming couldn't stop it, and this very devil's version of the technique spread throughout Iron Blood sect. Seeing this, Duan Yun and the Murong brothers couldn't help but rub their fists together eagerly. Finally, everyone's starting to practice. It's like planting the crops. Now it's just waiting to see the harvest. Clearly, Zhu Xiaoming was leading the way in mastering this technique. He had already sensed the true essence of this cultivation technique. That is, being like an ox and horse is just great. Indeed, all the dirty and tiring work that he would have previously been happy to exhaust a fellow disciple, a light green or a medium green, had now become surprisingly pleasant in his eyes. In the morning, just at daybreak, the Murong brothers, habitually waking up, went to clean the latrines. The latrines turned out to be spotless, the latrine walls clean and shining. He planned to clean the toilets, but found Zhu Xiaoming there fighting for the toilets to clean. One inner sect disciple didn't want him to clean, so he bit the toilet lid and wouldn't let go. Seeing this, the Murong brothers were shocked. Damn bastard! That toilet is mine! Seeing Zhu Xiaoming using his mouth just for a toilet, the Iron Blood sect disciple had no choice but to give it to him. Murong watched as Zhu Xiaoming took away the toilet. Cleaning it inch by inch, his eyes turned green, and even his hair started to drift green. Why does this feel like his own woman was taken away, and he was watching her get cleaned by someone else? At this moment, he felt that all the clean toilets were his women, only to be taken away and washed clean. Damn it! For a moment, Murong felt a strong sense of uncontrollable bitterness in his heart. The sword intent of this hatred endless knife was climbing furiously. At this point, Duan Yun, who had just come out from the restroom, slapped him on the shoulder and asked, "What are you doing?" Murong was startled awake and said, "Nothing. Just suddenly felt like practicing my sword technique." Duan Yun reminded him, "You are Mu Dehua now. Don't blow your cover." Murong nodded. Got it. Hence, he could only harden his heart, with tears in his eyes, unwilling to look at those washed toilets anymore. Unable to wash the toilet, the restroom not clean, it made him feel uncomfortable. However, as he felt uncomfortable, he got used to it because after he imagined the toilets and restrooms as women, it felt like he was practicing this hatred endless knife with the same green and bitter anguish. No, the stimulation was even stronger. Who would have thought that after practicing the cow and horse blood drowning technique in the Iron Blood sect, he would end up with the feeling of his women being taken away, which instead enhanced his sword intent. Murong felt that if this stimulation continued, his expertise in sword technique might only be a little inferior to old Demon Duan. But he was still sad at heart. Is this the price of becoming stronger? With his heart churned by a sea of green, Murong looked at Duan Yun beside him, confused. But what's his price for becoming stronger? At this moment, Murong suddenly realized that this cow and horse blood drowning technique was casually modified by old Demon Duan, and although he added a bit of his understanding midway, it could evolve to such an extent. Yes, the mental impact it caused was no less than when he was under Duan Yun's bed, in complete darkness, listening to old Demon Duan treating the fairies of the Chongling sect, especially when he was particularly infatuated with Yu Xinjin back then, thinking the other party liked him, but in the end, now even toilets had a similar effect. And all because old Demon Duan modified a cultivation technique? Clearly, Murong and Zhu Xiaoming were way ahead of others. Firstly, both of them grew curly hair, then their bodies emitted a medicinal fragrance, and the more direct manifestation was their liking for work. They enjoyed being oxen and horses. Just feeling being oxen and horses was exhilarating. Failing to be oxen and horses felt like losing a beloved one, and Murong could use this lost feeling of a beloved one to practice his sword intent. He was originally extremely skilled at this. But Zhu Xiaoming was different. He couldn't resolve it. Only by frantically doing work could he find ordinary satisfaction. Hence the situation where he wouldn't let go of biting a toilet occurred. Overall, Duan Yun and Murong's purpose had been half achieved. After Zhu Xiaoming's grand display, the jointly modified cow and horse blood sedimentation technique had already built a reputation, and everyone at the Iron Blood Sect station began practicing. The current effect wasn't bad either. With Zhu Xiaoming rushing to be oxen and horse, he no longer pressed external disciples. Or rather, now whoever snatched his work, he would be anxious with them. But for now, only Murong and Zhu Xiaoming showed significant changes. What others would become later was yet to be observed. The next day, the effect gradually emerged. Originally, only Murong and Zhu Xiaoming were viciously competing for the dirty and tiring work like sweeping restrooms, cleaning toilets, and washing dirty socks. As a result, Duan Yun was awakened early by a clamor, because suddenly 4 or 5 disciples joined the ranks of cleaning toilets, and 2 of them even fought over a chamber pot. One was a heavy green disciple, the other a medium green disciple. The heavy green disciple had a sharper head, stronger power, and after they fought fiercely, blood soon appeared. Green blood splattered on the ground, darker ones less, lighter ones more. The medium green disciple was beaten with a face full of blood, looking like a dye shop, yet he still tightly clutched the chamber pot without letting go. If this fight continued, someone might die. A group of external disciples was shocked. Truly bewitched, previously the Iron Blood Sect oppressed them to do work. They feared cleaning toilets and chamber pots the most. After all, Iron Blood Sect disciples are heavy in chi blood, with a strong smell that sometimes made their eyes unable to open. Later, when Murong snatched the work, they heaved a sigh of relief, just considering him trying too hard to impress. Who would have thought even an inner sect senior brother Zhu started doing this work later? This was shocking enough, making them feel sinister, but the scene before them could be described as shocking. They didn't understand, so they were shocked. In the Iron Blood Sect, to clean a chamber pot, it led to a deadly duel. This single chamber pot could cause a bloody case? They only felt sinister. This Iron Blood Sect was more sinister than they imagined. Some had already given up, thinking many here might just be lunatics. Although learning Iron Blood Sect's cultivation technique meant becoming a real martial artist with the sect's protection, they could insult some ordinary people at will. This was exactly what they sought, but now the situation was too wrong. Before they learned martial arts, they might be killed by a lunatic. For example, that medium green disciple looked like he was about to be beaten to death. At this time, Duan Yun suddenly said, "There are no more toilets inside, but there are plenty outside. I've heard the brothel's toilets and chamber pots smell the most pungent." These words, once spoken, are truly an awakening call for the dreamers. Originally, only 5 or 6 people competed to clean the toilets, but in an instant, 8 or 9 people rushed outside. Half of them headed towards the brothel. The extra people had always suppressed their desires, feeling that cleaning toilets and privies was too humiliating. No matter how they say it, they were somewhat accomplished in martial arts, and it wasn't easy to turn blood green. They practiced martial arts, forced themselves to endure hardships, to become superior to others, to commit acts of sin and murder, rather than cleaning privies and toilets here. But seeing those fellow disciples fighting over toilets and chamber pots today, they couldn't help but feel that the more one fought for it, the more fragrant it seemed. Their inner desires could no longer be contained. They also wanted to be beasts. Cleaning toilets and privies was enjoyable, but it couldn't make them feel absolutely satisfied. At such times, if someone could whip them a few times, they'd enjoy working while being whipped even more. Yes, this is the authentic flavor of beasts. Duan Yun and Brother Murong had to admit that the martial world was full of talents. They followed behind the Iron Blood Sect disciples going to the brothel, wanting to watch the excitement, which led them to truly witness some fun. Those few disciples, with a formidable air, went to the brothel not to seek pleasure but with pointed heads, very fierce, seemingly intending to cause trouble. This brothel had the backing of the Joyful Union sect, and the female cultivators were already dressed in translucent clothing, ready to engage, but nothing happened. Because the Iron Blood sect people came in just to clean chamber pots and toilets. However, a brothel remained a place not to be entered casually, and chamber pots and toilets were private items, leading to scenes where fees were paid for cleaning them. Yes, the Iron Blood sect disciples paid money. After paying, they did not seek pleasure, only clean toilets and chamber pots. This is simply unbelievable. The women in the brothel had served at least hundreds, if not thousands, and they'd seen all kinds of kinks and tricks. Yet they had never seen this kind of kink and trick. Some were worried that these pointed-headed guys wanted to drink their urine, as some who came to play in the brothel had this fetish. But these people just cleaned, doing nothing else. One Iron Blood sect disciple during the process of cleaning chamber pots even had a nearby girl whip him while he was cleaning, enjoying the process. Use your strength. Don't treat me like a human. Duan Yun, squatting on the rooftop watching this spectacle, was greatly shocked and couldn't help remarking, "Even my extraordinary wisdom couldn't foresee this scenario." So, within half a day, the matter of Iron Blood sect disciples competing to clean chamber pots and toilets spread throughout half of Qinghe City, causing waves of laughter. Could it be that Iron Blood sect is practicing some kind of rubbing technique? The more they rub toilets and chamber pots, the stronger they get? You might as well say they're practicing breath control. Everyone knows the Joyful Pavilion stench is strong. They manage to endure that smell while cleaning toilets and brushing chamber pots. Their breath control is indeed durable. Li Si, you're pretending. You criticize the stench, yet I saw you under the stench's skirt the other day. Nonsense. How can you falsely accuse someone without evidence? Within the Iron Blood sect, the mood was somewhat tense. The second master, Li Chun, with a grim face, angrily said, "You've completely embarrassed our Iron Blood sect. I know why you're like this, but when you do such things, can't you keep it low-key? Just this once, if anyone puts Iron Blood sect to shame again, I'll be the first to not let it go. Wang Yu, you stay here." Wang Yu was the one in the brothel today who got whipped while cleaning the toilet, and could be said to have provided half of the city's gossip, causing the sect the most disgrace. Seeing second master Li Chun's grim face, he secretly panicked. This was going to be a tough punishment. As soon as the door was closed, Li Chun asked, "Whose smell was strongest in that brothel?" Miss Xiao Wang had a fever. It smelled the worst." Saying this, Wang Yu's face showed both disdain and longing. Li Chun nodded. "I'll give you an opportunity today. Bring Miss Xiao Wang's chamber pot and toilet back for me, and I'll overlook today's matter." "What?" Wang Yu responded dazedly. "What do you mean, what? Don't understand human speech? If you understand, then get out." "Seeing your disappointing appearance disgusts me," Li Chun said with pain and agony. The reputation of the Iron Blood sect's true men was truly going to be ruined by half. Unfortunately, he knew there was no turning back. If Master Blood 3 knew of this incident, he'd surely blame and even begin to guard against him. He must quickly become stronger. He felt that by practicing this cow and horse blood drowning technique, his power was increasing, and the allure of becoming a beast grew daily. But as long as he could become stronger, he could endure anything. For a moment, Li Chun's eyes shone with a beastly light. The second master truly was the second master. In a short period, his beastly realm had surpassed that of Zhu Xiaoming and many disciples, so he sought the strongest stench. He could sense that the more enjoyable it was to be a beast, the faster his skills improved. In no time, most disciples of the Iron Blood sect had become beasts. Though warned by Li Chun, they dared not be too blatant. But in the face of a serious lack of dirty and heavy work within the sect, they inevitably spilled outside. The 70-year-old woman on this street, whose 3 sons were enslaved by sect members and died from overwork while farming, though also quite elderly, was still forced to do chores, laundry, and cooking. Who would have thought that the pointed-head martial arts sect suddenly took over all her chores, even cleaning toilets and chamber pots for her? All her life, she has always served others, working like a mule. But now she finds herself unable to continue. These martial artists are serving her like mules? The old lady thought she had encountered madmen and felt her end was near. These people do work, probably to prepare for killing. After all, many mad martial artists tend to do bizarre things. For example, she once heard of a sect almost entirely composed of women, where many walked around naked on their hands. The old lady was ready to die, but death didn't come. These people only did work without killing, which left her completely bewildered. What on earth is going on? Is this group possessed by spirits? The Murong brothers saw the group of mules and horses from Iron Blood sect and couldn't help saying, "Old Duan, could something be wrong with the wind direction here?" Indeed, they intended to create some characters similar to Dr. Shui of the Jiangzhong sect, but everyone from Iron Blood sect went off course, ending up washing toilets and underwear. Duan Yun had just left the toilet, and he said seriously, "They are not off course." "Not off course?" questioned the Murong brothers. "Go take a sniff in the toilet," Duan Yun suggested. "The toilet take a sniff? Maybe you're the one practicing out of whack," said the Murong brothers, though he said that his body still went inside. Upon entering, he blurted out, "Such a nice smell. Why does it smell so good?" Yes, the entire toilet was filled with a medicinal fragrance, smelling fresh, and he couldn't help but take a couple more deep breaths. But in an instant he realized this was a toilet. After coming out, the Murong brothers couldn't help asking, "What's going on? How can there be such a medicinal fragrance in the toilet?" Duan Yun nodded and said, "They have also practiced that blood, medicine blood. But why is the fragrance in the toilet?" While the Murong brothers were puzzled, suddenly a strange scream came from inside the toilet. I peed blood," a hefty man from the Iron Blood sect exclaimed in horror. When everyone heard, they gathered around. Among them, Zhu Xiaoming stepped forward and asked, "When did you start bleeding?" "Just now," the man replied, trembling. "Don't worry, it's just bleeding. No big deal," Zhu Xiaoming explained. "How can it be no big deal?" The man remained uneasy. "It started for me 2 days ago. I've already studied it. It's similar to a woman's period," Zhu Xiaoming explained. "What?" Everyone was shocked. Some had secretly checked their crotches and were startled because they, too, had some blood. "You knew early on. So why didn't you say anything? True men of Iron Blood sect having periods?" Someone exclaimed in fear. Zhu Xiaoming said seriously, "If I had said it earlier, it would have embarrassed only me having a period. Isn't it better to share fortunes and misfortunes together? If we're going to be humiliated, let's be humiliated together." A group of burly men was suddenly bewildered, wishing they could tear him apart. True men of Iron Blood sect having periods. It was more embarrassing than washing toilets and underwear. The Murong brothers broke out in a cold sweat and said, "Lucky I didn't continue practicing." Indeed, he felt the pain of losing the chamber pot and toilet previously. So he didn't advance further and instead treated it as a whetstone for sharpening his sword intent. Had he continued practicing, wouldn't he, too, start having periods? He couldn't help but look at Duan Yun in horror. "Did you know this would happen? Old demon Duan, you knew all along and didn't tell me. You're so bad." Duan Yun looked innocent. He had anticipated the medicine blood, but not that it would manifest this way. Did this group practice it wrong somehow? Why didn't it turn out that way for me when I practiced? At this moment, someone rushed in from outside and said, "The sect leader has returned. Aren't you going to greet him?" As the second master of the Iron Blood sect, Li Chun's talent has always been the strongest in the sect. He even considers himself not weaker than the sect leader, Master Blood 3. He is not comparable to Master Blood 3, only because he is still young and lacks an opportunity. An opportunity to prove himself and annihilate the master. An opportunity for revenge for his wife, who he does not know where she was sold. That old piece left out some moves when teaching him martial arts. But now, the opportunity has come. Li Chun had always been a confident person, and after practicing the cow and horse blood drowning technique, he became even more confident. He felt as if a membrane in his brain had been pierced by him, thus gaining extraordinary wisdom. Yes, Extraordinary wisdom. No one understands blood drowning better than me. Nor does anyone understand cow and horse better than me. With my supreme talent and extraordinary wisdom, the future will surely be to command the world. Suddenly, he remembered the bird poem made by the outer disciple who stumbled upon luck like a blind cat finding a dead mouse. Gazing at the stars, a true man, down to earth, true bull and horse, moo 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 moo. He disliked poetry, but at this moment, he felt as if he had transformed into the most robust bull and horse man under the heavens, with 3 heads. A bull head, a horse head, and a human head. His human head gazes at the stars, embodying the image of a true iron blood man, while the bull head and horse head face the earth, with limbs solidly planted on the land he had cultivated and sowed. At this moment, he was the embodiment of this poem, the embodiment of the bull and horse of the heavens. No, he wanted more. He also wanted to compose a poem. Bull and horse, bull and horse. What goes in is grass, what comes out is milk. With this line, the image of the bull and horse in the sea of consciousness became more vivid. Li Chun's mouth produced a bitter taste, as if eating grass on one hand and producing milk on the other. This bitter taste was initially unadaptable, but soon became incredibly wonderful, akin to the awkwardness he felt before when scrubbing chamber pots and night jars, later finding himself irresistibly immersed. Wait a minute. Produce milk. As this thought emerged, the chi blood within Li Chun surged, flowing through his chest. It did not take long for him to feel his chest swelling, as if about to produce milk. It's effective. Li Chun still did not stop, continuing to swing his robust limbs, contemplating blood drowning. After the time of a stick of incense, he stopped, due to discovering his chest had already become wet. Li Chun tore open his collar and found that what flowed from his chest was not milk, but blood. The unique green blood of the Iron Blood sect. This was the blood he had just newly practiced. Li Chun sniffed, unable to resist, exclaiming, "I smell so good!" He pinched a fingerful of blood and put it into his mouth, his eyes suddenly brightening. Indeed medicine. Actually, 2 days ago, he already experienced bleeding below like a woman's monthly cycle, just like several other disciples. At that time, when he smelled the medicinal fragrance in the blood, he felt it might contain pure medicinal power. This was also the reason they began growing hair. Only he had not dared easily taste it, for after all, this thing still needed psychological courage. As he practiced more deeply, this psychological barrier had disappeared. Even if he was truly a bull and horse, what was wrong with tasting his own milk? Even when a cow eats grass and produces milk, sometimes it can eat a little milk too. Now after tasting, he found it indeed miraculous. The blood milk flowing from his chest, the medicinal aroma was stronger and purer than the blood below. In other words, he had now become a man who could produce milk and have monthly cycles. Had this happened before, Li Chun might have gone mad. After all, the Iron Blood sect emphasized being an iron blood tough guy, with a sharp head, unafraid of bleeding, fully embodying masculinity. But as he continuously practiced this cultivation technique, his mindset had changed. He now practiced 1 day equivalent to several days' worth of work before even Zhu Xiaoming, such a waste, can rapidly rise by borrowing this cultivation technique, which already shows that this cultivation technique should be the orthodox Iron Blood sect practice. The sect leader, Master Blood 3, understood nothing about Iron Blood skill. He believed that, under the blessing of this divine skill and his leadership, the Iron Blood sect would reach new heights. Li Chun quickly squeezed a bit and drank a mouthful himself, his eyes widening even more. A warmth instantly flowed from the throat to every part of the body. He felt an unprecedented wonder. Inside the Iron Blood sect, the Iron Blood technique requires transporting chi blood internally, refining the body externally. After prolonged practice, there would inevitably be hidden injuries. Especially if too much iron blood overflows and is not promptly expelled, it will cause small cracks in blood vessels and meridians, which only those who have practiced iron blood deeply will experience. And at this moment, Li Chun discovered that his blood milk was nurturing these hidden wounds, allowing them to recover. Utterly miraculous. Even the rumored divine medicine from Jiangzhong sect for treating internal injuries probably isn't this miraculous. Li Chun quickly drank all the blood milk from his chest. He only felt warmth all over his body, indescribable comfort and relaxation. No, this wasn't the most relaxed. He quickly took out the night jar of Miss Xiao Wang, who had the most pungent odor from the brothel, and scrubbed. Only at this moment was the most comfortable. Nothing was more comfortable than being a bull and horse. At the same time, the milk blood within him was fermenting. Li Chun, standing there holding the night jar, suddenly appeared like a medical practitioner with a compassionate heart. Iron blood can't save the people, but medicine blood can. Under the nurturing of the blood milk, he realized this. Cleaning chamber pots and night jars was only superficial bull and horse, but what about deeper bull and horse? True bull and horse is to sacrifice oneself. Even if it's blood, it should benefit others. With a grateful heart, Li Chun ordered, "Send Zhu Xiaoming here." It did not take long before Zhu Xiaoming, with slightly curly hair, arrived. Li Chun looked at him with a gentle expression. "Xiaoming, drink this." Zhu Xiaoming looked at the cup of greenish liquid, and his first reaction was iron blood, his second was poison wine. But he didn't hesitate much and still tilted his neck back to drink it down. Because even if it was poison wine, his resistance was futile, not to mention that the second master's demeanor was even more gentle today, and with his robust muscles it was hard to refuse. One might say dying under the iron blood's crotch, being a ghost also seems romantic. If death it is, then so be it. Zhu Xiaoming picked up the cup and drank it all in one go. But as soon as it entered his mouth, he sensed something was wrong. So fragrant. This is medicine. The medicinal aroma gave him a familiar feeling. Could it be? Li Chun looked at him with a comforting smile. You guessed right, actually. Your blood is also medicine. Great medicine. The effects of the medicine began to circulate in Zhu Xiaoming's body, and his eyes lit up. Our blood is also medicine. Then by drinking our own blood, we can work even harder like cows and horses, and our cultivation will improve even more. Li Chun nodded with satisfaction. Xiaoming, you have great insight, but you're still a bit behind me. Our iron blood sect has been around for so many years, and we have only gained a slight reputation. In Qinghe City, we're just barely something to look at. Even when you go to brothels to clean toilets or chamber pots, you have to pay and worry about an ambush from the evil woman of the Joyful Union sect. We're here to find the Golden Palace and advance further. But it's hard to find the Golden Palace, like Mirror Flower Watermoon. If Iron Blood Sect doesn't encounter a miraculous opportunity before that, it will stay the same. But now, with this blood, not only can we practice the cow and horse blood drowning technique more joyfully and become stronger as cattle and horses, but we can also take the path of a medical practitioner and open up new worlds. Our blood can save people. And if we train hard, we might even save more people than the Jiangzhong sect. At this moment, the two were imagining scenes of working like cattle and horses with a compassionate heart. Feeling that this sensation was so wonderful, they couldn't help but let out a light hum. Sect leader, in the future, if we become more famous than the Jiangzhong sect, Iron Blood sect will become a top-notch sect. We can also use this to become stronger, Zhu Xiaoming said. Li Chun nodded. As long as we become strong enough, I don't see who can stop us. As long as we're strong enough, who dares to criticize us being cattle and horses? I'll clean whoever's toilet I want, without paying, Zhu Xiaoming lamented. Both people in the room saw a bright future. Just then, there was a sudden noise from outside. Welcome the sect leader back to the villa. Welcome the sect leader back to the villa. Duan Yun and the Murong brothers were standing there, like lackeys. They watched as a burly man in red, accompanied by two subordinates, entered. This burly man in red couldn't just be described as having a sharp head. His whole head was nearly triangular, like a snake's head, with his eyes almost squeezed together, making him look particularly fierce. If the sharper the head, the purer the iron blood, then this was iron blood technique trained to an extremely high level. It was obvious this must be the gang leader Xue San of the Iron Blood sect. The Iron Blood sect disciples before were already kneeling on both sides, welcoming him with neat slogans. This bird Iron Blood sect's strength isn't much, but the sect leader's pomp is not small. Duan Yun couldn't help but comment. He suddenly realized that all these bird sects and gangs were like this. Xuanxiong gang was even weaker, but the gang leader's pomp wasn't small either. He was kicked away by the Xuanxiong gang because the gang leader was passing by in the street, and this scene was no less grand. Xuesan quickly headed to the inner courtyard. At this moment, a disciple from Iron Blood sect named Zhao leaned over to Duan Yun and the Murong brothers. You guys just avoided a disaster. Knowing that it was the Murong brothers who inadvertently stumbled upon this new blood drowning technique, Zhao frequently approached Murong brothers to get closer, hoping to learn more cultivation technique details. He had no choice. He really wanted to improve. So, back and forth, he had become an acquaintance of Duan Yun and the Murong brothers in Iron Blood sect. Murong brothers were puzzled. Avoided a disaster? You don't know. The sect leader Xuesan is narrow-minded. If he had found out you didn't kneel, he might have killed you. Zhao reminded them. Not kneeling and he kills people? This dog bastard wants to be emperor. Duan Yun complained. Just as he said this, Zhao immediately moved away from them. These two newcomers didn't understand the terror of Iron Blood sect's sect leader Xuesan, just that description of dog bastard. If Xuesan knew, it would be a capital offense. No, it might even implicate him as their friend. This is why Zhao hurriedly distanced himself from them. Just as Xuesan walked into the corridor, Li Chun opened the door. He and Zhu Xiaoming both knelt on the ground together. Xuesan glanced at them and asked, "How are the preparations for entering the mountain?" Li Chun replied, "Everything is arranged. We can depart the day after tomorrow." Xuesan nodded and walked straight away. Li Chun and Zhu Xiaoming stood up. Li Chun patted Zhu Xiaoming on the shoulder and said, "Soon, we won't have to kneel to people like him anymore." Zhu Xiaoming still felt afraid of Xuesan. Because Xuesan's head was triangular, the sharpest and most terrifying in the sect. It seemed like it penetrated into his body's instinct. But despite his fear, he looked at Li Chun with a resolute expression. He knew that the Iron Blood sect would face a terrible upheaval, and if he had to choose, he would only choose Brother Chun. Just as Li Chun said earlier, no one can stop their path. Li Chun felt that with just a little more time, he would certainly be able to defeat Xuesan. Unfortunately, that afternoon, Li Chun was summoned by Xuesan. "While I was gone, what's the matter with the sect members going to the brothel to clean chamber pots and toilets?" Xuesan questioned. Sect leader Xuesan didn't usually care about trivial matters, but he brought up this issue. Li Chun answered, "Those guys inexplicably went mad and did this shameful deed. I've already punished them." Xuesan raised an eyebrow and said, "Oh, really? I wasn't gone for 9 days, and yet such disgrace happened in the Iron Blood sect. Don't you bear any responsibility or feel any shame?" Li Chun's face didn't look good, and he said, "I was wrong. I didn't manage them well." He wasn't alone with Xuesan here. Being reprimanded in front of others made Li Chun feel very humiliated. But Li Chun was accustomed to this guy's behavior. Xuesan had a bad temper, especially in times like this, because Xuesan was currently letting blood flow. Strands of green blood were dripping from his fingertips, making a sound. The members of the Iron Blood sect, due to practicing the Iron Blood technique, always had excess blood, so they occasionally needed to let some out. The Iron Blood technique also easily made people irritable, especially when they had to let out excess blood. Their temper was particularly bad. Xuesan was just in such a state. Actually, members of the Iron Blood sect, once they reached the light green level, had a few days of bad temper every month. However, those of high status could vent their anger on those of lower status, while those of lower status could only go out and plunder and kill. And because Qinghe City lacked commoners, it was even hard to get the civilians. Some of them could only go after pigs. Xuesan was now venting his anger at Li Chun. Li Chun listened habitually, getting scolded. He just listened, endured a little, and it would pass. "Anyway, sooner or later, I'll kill your whole family." At this time, Xuesan, with his triangular head, said, I've heard that you're secretly cleaning women's chamber pots too, the raunchiest kind. Did you perhaps get nostalgic seeing the brothel? Think about it, if your wife were still at it, surely she'd be the raunchiest in there. Ha ha ha. At this moment, although Li Chun outwardly remained calm, inside his energy was in chaos. Like an ox, his true chi was rampaging. What? Did you get angry? What use is there in being angry? You can only watch your wife become like that, can't you? Suddenly, Xuesen changed his tone and said, Sorry. I'm just fond of speaking the truth these days. Don't take it to heart. Your wife was visited not long ago. She's still doing that work, her face turning yellow. Life is hard for her. Do you want to know where she is? If you want to know, then use your mouth to help me let out some blood. Maybe I'll tell you the details of how she serves the old man. I intended to spare your dignity, after all, you're already second in command. But the Iron Blood sect lost face. It's mine and yours. Consider this a punishment. Come here. As he said, Xuesen extended his hand that was dripping green blood. Li Chun walked over with a sudden calm gaze. As his mouth touched the fingertip, Xuesen suddenly felt a shock in his heart. Not good. With a crunch, Li Chun bit down, directly biting off a section of Xuesan's finger. Damn it. Let's do it today. Li Chun originally intended to endure, after all. He hadn't been practicing the cow and horse blood drowning technique for very long. If he practiced a bit longer, it would surely be more stable. But Xuesan today touched his reverse scale. He even went specifically to see the miserable appearance of his wife. Why? Why do this to me? At that moment, Li Chun chose to strike. He had told Zhu Xiaoming that, in the future, he would not bow to people like this. He thought it would take a little more time, but he didn't expect it to be so soon. He didn't want to endure anymore. Moreover, this was a good opportunity. As the bull and horse true chi surged within him, the mouth that had been licking his fingers made a fierce bite next. This bite combined with his bull and horse true chi could even break steel and iron bones. Xuesan was an old riverside. An experienced old riverside. He sensed danger in an instant. This sense of danger seemed to have merged with his physical instincts. He, Xuesan, was so ruthless even to the people below, even to those just below him like the second master Li Chun, so he had even more enemies in the martial world. Yet he lived till now and hadn't died. Besides having thick blood, it was this sense of danger. Unfortunately, even though he reacted, he was still half a beat too late. A section of his finger had been bitten off, and the blood he wanted to contain suddenly gushed like it was free. Xuesen really did not expect Li Chun, this dog, to strike at this time. Yes, he had suspected that Li Chun might have rebellious intentions, but he didn't expect the other party to choose this time, because this was not when he was the weakest. Xuesan's green blood sprayed, and the next moment, he fiercely pointed in midair. The blood spilling from his severed finger instantly transformed into 3 green blood arrows, aiming at Li Chun's eyes, mouth, and Shinkei acupoint. These 3 blood arrows were extremely tricky, attacking both above and below, and most perplexing was their trajectory. Li Chun's hands moved in unison, one hand protecting his belly button, the other covering his face, intending to block these 3 blood arrows. But strangely enough, the 2 upper blood arrows suddenly turned midway. It can only be said that as the sect leader of the Iron Blood sect, Xuesan was indeed far ahead of other sect members in the technique of blood manipulation, including the second master Li Chun. 2 crisp sounds echoed as the 2 curved blood arrows smashed the flesh from Li Chun's cheeks. At this time, the otherwise brawny and large Xuesan suddenly stepped on a pillar, his whole body lunging forward like a frog towards Li Chun. Could be seen that in this stillness and movement, every muscle in his body was trembling, pushing his physical strength to the extreme. Li Chun quickly rolled to the side. With a loud crash, the ground where he had just stood was pounded into a pit, debris flying, dust swirling. But before Li Chun could stabilize, the dust suddenly parted as the blood from Xuesan's severed finger was again cast out by him, like a fierce whip, cracking through the air. Originally breaking Xuesan's finger was Li Chun gaining the initiative, but who would have thought Xuesan was indeed worthy of being Xuesan, the sect leader truly worthy of being a sect leader, he could play tricks with the blood from his wound. Li Chun channeled force with his arms, pushing upwards. With a loud explosion, like spring thunder falling, the blood whip lashed against Li Chun's arms, its force astounding. Li Chun's sleeves instantly burst into shreds, and along with them, his skin and flesh split. In a moment, his skin and flesh seemed to explode into two flowers. Blood blossoms. The ferocity of Shuesan's attacks. Terrifying indeed. This sound had already alarmed other members of the Iron Blood sect. In no time, the outer area of the sect leader's hall was filled with dozens of onlookers, including Duan Yun and the Morong brothers. They were on a pine tree, just enough to overlook the situation inside. Only to see Li Chun being flipped to the ground by that blood whip, the Morong brothers couldn't help but murmur. Why did this internal strife suddenly start? Also, why is Brother Chun so weak? Shuesen wielding blood as a weapon, with the green blood carrying some degree of corrosiveness. Just upon contact, Li Chun's flesh shattered. Yes, in Shuesan's hands, iron blood was no less than an iron sword. On the contrary, because blood is a liquid, under his control it unexpectedly emerged mysteriously, its path hard to predict. This is the Grandmaster realm of the iron blood technique to kill enemies, using blood as a weapon, intricate and elusive. In the martial world, soft swords, double rings, flying knives are considered strange weapons, different from ordinary blades, swords, spears, and sticks, taking the path of unpredictability. And now Shuesen wielding blood was like having simultaneously 7 or 8 strange weapons, forcing Li Chun to retreat continuously. It was evident that it wouldn't be long before Li Chun would be defeated. Under the Morong brothers' muttering, Duan Yun had already formed a sword finger, considering whether he should intervene. The cultivation technique of heroic change this bastard had just completed, and before it even made its name in the martial world, you, sect leader, would extinguish it. That is utterly disrespectful to this young hero, worthy of exterminating your whole family. At the same time, he and the Morong brothers shared the same confusion. That was Li Chun being suppressed more severely than expected. Could only be said that although it was a second-rate sect, this sect leader Shuesan had some skills. At this moment, Li Chun's arms had already torn open, falling back. With a bang, he crashed through the window. Half of his body almost sunk into the wall. Seeing this, Shuesen moved as a shadow to seize the opportunity to deliver a fatal blow to Li Chun. Although he seemed to have the upper hand, in reality, this state couldn't be maintained for long. The green blood of the Iron Blood sect itself was a kind of weapon, once mastered, hidden within the body, due to excessive surging, making the cultivator feel utterly uncomfortable. This is also why the Iron Blood sect frequently sought people for bloody battles. For them, a proper bloodletting is actually beneficial for their physical and mental health. Shuesan was definitely the person with the most abundant green blood in the sect, but today he had already let out more than half of his blood, finally letting Li Chun take over, merely to humiliate him. This is simply the tradition of the Iron Blood sect. Within the Iron Blood sect, every person has a few days each month where those above can use those below as a tool for venting, adjusting their mood. This has always been the unwritten rule of the Iron Blood sect. But who would have thought this son of a bitch would suddenly resist? You can't handle it. Huh. If you can't handle it, then go to hell. Because he had already let out most of the excess blood before, Shuesan's blood quickly became insufficient. Continuing to squander like this would not be nourishing the body but damaging the body's foundation. Therefore, he needed to quickly send this ungrateful one on his way. He pointed his severed finger as a sword finger, and the green blood that splattered followed his true chi surge, forming a blood sword. He wanted to pierce Li Chun right through, but just then, Shuesan suddenly heard a cow's moo. Yes, a cow's moo. The kind of sound a cow makes in the fields when whipped and laboriously plowing. He suddenly realized that this sound was actually coming from Li Chun, not from his mouth, but from his belly. Within Li Chun's belly, bull and horse true chi surged, exploding with his unique strength. At this moment, he suddenly wanted to recite poetry. Bend down as a blood ox and fight like a bull. Heavy true chi surged from Li Chun's body, and he raised his right hand high, akin to an old ox raising its horns. As soon as this move appeared, Shuesan's face changed. The opponent's move combined true qi and all his muscles harmoniously, as if truly like a bull raising its horns. The more harmonious and simple the move, the greater the destructive power. Return to simplicity is the principle here. At this moment, Li Chun truly had a taste of man and bull being one, a return to simplicity. The bull horn first struck the blood sword askew, so the blood sword that should have pierced his heart stabbed into his shoulder instead. Even though his shoulder was nearly pierced by the blood sword, Li Chun's bull horn still did not stop, continued to push upward. Let you witness the power of bulls and horses. With a slash, from the neck down to the shoulder, Shuesan was cut with a huge gash. Green blood streamed out. He quickly retreated several steps, applied acupuncture to stop the bleeding. Shuesan didn't expect his sure-kill strike to result in mutual harm. However, he still maintained composure. Li Chun made this move very perilously and ingeniously. His martial skill suddenly elevated a level, catching him off guard. But it was just like that. He lost a small segment of finger, the cut was deep enough and long enough, but that's all. And Li Chun had 13 wounds on his body, 8 of which were bone deep. With his profound skills and iron blood thickness, this guy was sure to die. At this moment, Shuesan's eyes suddenly widened, because he saw Li Chun's gaze suddenly concentrate, with blood water seeping through his tattered clothes from his chest, like a cow producing milk. More bizarrely, Li Chun quickly licked the spilled blood water clean, revealing a twisted smile. Honestly, even with victory assured, Shuesan shivered at this smile. Even old Demon Duan, the originator, felt twisted seeing this scene. Is this guy sucking his own milk? What's wrong with this guy? Shuesan was shocked, so with no hesitation, he launched another assault. I'll let you be a freak. Speaking, his fists turned into hammers, with spilled blood water and true qi, smashing towards Li Chun. Li Chun didn't retreat this time, stepping forward with a horse stance, upper body like a raised bull, charged up. 2 loud bangs like morning bells and evening drums. The 2 sides each retreated. Li Chun retreated a full 18 steps, didn't stop until he struck the wall behind him, smashing it. While Shuesan retreated 10 steps, his qi blood was unstable. Regardless of the intricacy of the fist technique or the thickness of iron blood and true qi, Shuesan firmly held the upper hand. So he didn't pause, continued to strike, intending to completely crush Li Chun. Thunderous crashes. The wall and stone steps shattered. A pear tree knocked flying by Li Chun, piercing through 2 neck-stretched disciples of the Iron Blood sect who watched. This blood battle between the second master and the sect leader is truly a once-in-a-century event. They must watch it unfold completely, even if it means risking their lives. Yet they really don't quite understand what they're watching. The 2 sides have exchanged more than 40 moves, each one deploying their entire body's qi blood and muscles, with not a single shred of ornamentation. Can be said to be a real clash of strength. Logically speaking, Second Master Li Chun should be a notch below sect leader Shuesan, and indeed on the battlefield, Li Chun is at a disadvantage with every exchange. For instance, by the 10th move he was already bleeding from his 7 orifices, yet here at the 40th move he still stands there, 7 orifices bleeding. He looks like an egg about to be crushed by Shuesan at any moment, but this egg hasn't broken yet. Instead, Shuesan is panting, somewhat unable to withstand it. The next moment, Shuesan's pupils suddenly contract as he sees Li Chun generating and absorbing milk, flashing him a wicked smile. In an instant, he realizes that it's that milk taking effect. Indeed, Li Chun can hold on until now because his medicine milk has been continually healing his injuries. It's equivalent to continuous health regeneration. Watching Li Chun, sipping milk and ready to rise again, Shuesan feels at a disadvantage. How one might say, it seems what he sees is no longer a man but an ox. An ox, tenacious and unyielding, even after many knife cuts and countless whiplashes. As long as it has strength, it can keep working. The key point is, can this ox become stronger by drinking its own blood milk? If he cannot quickly kill the opponent, He fears he might exhaust himself to death. In reality, the Jiangzhong sect is so famous in the martial world, not just because they emphasize adding money for a cure, which seems like a group of avaricious doctors, but when it comes to a real fight, they are absolutely not weak. There are quite a number of people exhausted to death by the Jiangzhong sect members. As long as you cannot quickly kill him, he finds the opportunity to ingest some medicine, give himself an acupoint, or even check his pulse, treat injuries, and later, when you're out of strength, he may give you a big one. Now, Shui-san is facing a similar situation. He did not expect Li Chun to be this resilient. His gaze fastens onto Li Chun's bosom. If that thing you're eating is useful, then I'll tear it apart. Saying this, his body flickers, executing a move of the Dragon Claw Hand. Dragon Claw Hand is not an ultimate technique of the Iron Blood sect, but something Shui-san picked up from a corpse during his wanderings in the martial world. He rarely uses it, but now he has no choice. Only to see his broken fingers continue to bleed, the entire claw nearly turning into a blood claw, appearing to Duan Yun like the ghost claw from a horror movie. This claw swings left and right, dancing wildly, creating a blur of shadow, making it difficult to distinguish real from illusory. Ah! When it lands real, Li Chun is hit. His chest was clawed. Even if he swiftly channels force to break away, a clear claw mark is still left on his chest. I'll claw you to pieces. Shui-san, pressing the advantage, is determined to extinguish Li Chun's blood origin. Without blood milk to consume, what will you resist with? Swish, 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 crack. Duan Yun and the Murong brothers show expressions that cannot bear to look directly. In a short span of time, Li Chun's bosom has been clawed into a shapeless mess, and even if the medicine milk is about to spill, it might be indistinguishable. However, Shui-san is also exhausted, seizing the moment to regain his breath. But while catching his breath, he nearly choked. Since Li Chun is reaching toward the groin, this reach is blood. Immediately, Li Chun, while giving a wicked smile, begins absorbing blood under his crotch. Shui-san's eyes widen in disbelief and he exclaims, "This works too! Blood like this can also heal? What kind of evil skill is this?" Shui-san considers himself an old hand in the riverside world. An old hand among old hands. But at this moment, he suddenly feels that the sect he belongs to has become so strange, so disgusting. Within just a few days, this territory has gone insane beyond recognition to him. Ah! I'll claw you to death. Shui-san, head pointed sharply, eyes like bronze bells, in a mad frenzy, shakes his blood claw while charging at Li Chun. All the onlookers have their eyes widened, not caring about dryness, blinkingless. This is truly a vigorous and satisfying battle. The battle between Shui-san and Li Chun had reached the point of life and death. Both were drenched in green blood, their solid muscles tearing through the remaining fabric of their clothes, looking like two green giants in combat. Of course, Li Chun's face was softer, especially after practicing the cow and horse blood drowning technique, giving him an honest and simple appearance, whereas Shui-san, with a triangular head, resembled a venomous snake with bulging muscles. He wanted this guy dead. He hated Li Chun's sinister smile, hated the way he drank blood. In truth, by now, Li Chun was already at his limit. His blood milk had extraordinary effects, but no matter how miraculous the medicine, it eventually had its limits. Or, rather, even the most divine medicine requires time to take effect. And Shui-san, as if mad, continued to attack relentlessly, wounded as he was. It was no easy feat for him to hold out until now. Yes, if it weren't for the boost from his blood milk, he would have lost in 30 moves of direct confrontation. Yet, there was no sign of fatigue on Li Chun's face. He even seemed to enjoy it. Being a cow and horse meant enduring hardships, and the more hardship you endure, the more enjoyable it became. Thus, he continued to smile sinisterly, welcoming the enemy. Cows and horses bow down, invincible on earth. At this moment, he burned with life, letting out the most intense shout. Again, an extremely intense collision erupted, flesh to flesh, blood to blood entwined. making the two appear less like humans and more like meat-grinding machines, entwining each other in the eyes of the crowd. Ah! Suddenly, Li Chun let out a scream, flying out like a broken kite. The gap in strength was naturally there. Even if he made Xuesan pay dearly, he still had to lose. Xuesan gasped heavily, his body covered in green blood, his own, Li Chun's. He hadn't anticipated being injured to such an extent by Li Chun. It might take years of recovery to heal. Thinking back, it really was a huge loss. Damn! I'll kill you, you freak! Just then, a shadow suddenly descended from above. Brother Chun, I'm here to help you. At a glance, Zhu Xiaoming landed midair, slashing towards Xuesan's neck. Exhausted from a fierce battle, Xuesan had just relaxed only to be ambushed. His reaction wasn't slow, swiftly raising his hand. With a bang, Zhu Xiaoming was sent flying, but the blade remained lodged in the flesh of Xuesan's nape. Whoa! Xuesan spewed a mouthful of fresh blood. Just a few days gone, and there are 2 traitors in the sect already. Just as Xuesan finished speaking, 2 more figures leapt at him. We're here to help you. In the blink of an eye, 2 Iron Blood sect disciples entwined themselves, locking Xuesan's hands and feet. By this time, Li Chun had risen to his feet again. Alongside him stood Zhu Xiaoming. No one could stop them from being cows and horses, not even the sect leader. Li Chun and Zhu Xiaoming charged together. Seeing this, Xuesan's eyes were bloodshot. He knew he might die. It was too late to plead guilty. Who could have imagined there would be so many traitors? In this situation, Xuesan forcibly channeled the true qi and iron blood within him. Hiss hiss hiss. Xuesan's body already had many wounds, and now, blood sprayed out freely from the openings, forming blood arrows. The 2 Iron Blood sect disciples locking him quickly had multiple blood holes on their bodies, but they still held tight, refusing to let go. Ah! With a shout, Xuesan's right arm sprayed fresh blood, sending the Iron Blood sect disciple on his right side flying. Just as he attempted to break free from the restraints, almost simultaneously, Zhu Xiaoming lunged over like a human lock, completely locking him down. Crazy. They were all crazy. Xuesan looked shocked, and trying to muster strength was no longer possible. No. His words were abruptly cut off, as Li Chun brushed past him, the knife on his nape having sliced through his neck completely. As green blood sprayed, his head was barely attached to his neck by a layer of skin, yet he still wasn't dead. He looked at Li Chun, grimacing, and said, Your woman got a venereal disease. Only fearless old men dare to seek her. I see she's dying. After this, Xuesan's body trembled and he died straight away. Who would have thought the sect leader of the Iron Blood sect died just like that? He had been the leader of the Iron Blood sect for 56 years, more tyrant than a tyrant, and no one ever dared to defy him. Yet, after just a few days away, everything had changed upon his return. He died like this. Even in death, he couldn't understand why the Iron Blood sect had changed so much. He couldn't help thinking of that rumor. Golden Mountain is the mountain of the martial god, hiding the divine skill that everyone in the world desires. But it is also a fateful mountain, leaving anyone coveting its treasures unfortunate. Is this the curse of the Golden Mountain? Such a curse, wasn't it too fast and too intense? How could Xuesan have known? This wasn't the curse of the Golden Mountain at all, but rather the blessing granted by young hero Duan. With Xuesan dead, the Iron Blood sect did not scatter. Instead, it gave a sense of unity and camaraderie. Those Iron Blood sect disciples who suddenly helped Li Chun, apart from being dissatisfied with Xuesan's high-handedness, were more significantly because they recognized Li Chun. That is, after practicing the cow and horse blood drowning technique, they all wanted to be cows and horses. Cows and horses should be led by cows and horses, and Xuesan was not of their kind. Yes, that was how they felt. Thus, they collectively overthrew the sect leader of decades. From now on, the Iron Blood sect would take the surname Nyo, cow. Chun, are you okay? Even though he was badly injured, Zhu Xiaoming was still concerned about Li Chun. Li Chun was covered in blood and weakly said, "I'm fine." Then he looked at the disciple nearby and said, "Help, help him first. Why bother saying that? We're saving him together. Xiaoming, let me handle this. I'm just about to have my monthly cycle today." As he spoke, a disciple from the Iron Blood sect had already taken off his pants and rushed towards Zhu Xiaoming. For a moment, the collapsed main hall was filled with Iron Blood sect members with their pants down, showing unity, affection, and the compassionate heart of a medical practitioner. Murong, watching this eye-popping scene, exclaimed, "Brother, isn't this still going astray?" Duan Yun seriously replied, "The process is different from what we imagined, but the result is similar. Just say whether they were united and affectionate in saving people or not. Now they're saving themselves, but soon they will save others. The martial world is bound to have fewer injuries and become more beautiful." Murong asked, "So what do we do now?" Duan Yun replied, "The heroic heart has been planted. My chance for heroic change at this sect doesn't look like a failure. Observe for 2 days, prepare to cause, prepare for heroic change at the next sect." Murong looked skeptical, but since old Demon Duan said so, it was hard to argue, especially since the Iron Blood sect had undergone earth-shattering changes in less than half a month. Even the sect leader was killed. Could anything worse happen? He couldn't help but say, "If heroic change isn't successful, won't they still be pests?" Duan Yun answered seriously, "If even my painstaking heroic spirit can't improve them, what's the point of keeping them for the new year?" Murong instantly felt a deep respect. After all, at worst, it would mean exterminating the sect. No wonder you're the leader among Yuzhu heroes. It's undeniable that the Iron Blood sect's healing methods are indeed strange. Whether it's self-produced blood milk or medicine blood that comes like a monthly cycle, the healing effect is very good. The injuries that Li Chun and Zhu Xiaoming sustained were severe. Even for real Iron Men, they'd be bedridden for 10 or 20 days. But under the round-robin nourishment of disciples with medicine blood, they could walk within 3 days. Can only be said, with many people come great power. Every day, it's either you have your monthly cycle or they do. There's always blood to treat a few wounded. Duan Yun and Murong seemed to be somewhat discriminated against for not producing blood. Li Chun stood there, still visibly weak, but his eyes were bright and full of life. Duan Yun and Murong were standing with 3 outer sect disciples, still looking like lackeys. Due to the internal chaos, most of the outer sect disciples had run away. According to common sense, with internal strife in a sect where even the sect leader dies, it's basically half-buried. Moreover, the recent performance up and down the Iron Blood sect was truly bizarre, successful cultivation, and a grown man would have a woman's monthly cycle, and it's something average people can't bear. Li Chun spoke to the crowd, a speech that greatly satisfied Duan Yun. Li Chun had announced that the Iron Blood sect would change its rules and never restrict disciples from being cattle and horses. Furthermore, he himself would take the lead in being the best, strongest, and bigger cattle and horse. Sacrifice oneself, benefit others, be cattle and horses, compassionate heart. Duan Yun stood among the crowd, shouting slogans alongside them. You say it's not strange, but that's impossible. But he quickly felt relieved. As long as the outcome was good, it was fine. A sect used to fighting everywhere now willingly serves as cattle and horses for all. How can it not be beneficial to the martial world? The slogans were loud, but inside the Iron Blood sect, they were all rough guys with little education, shouting basically only a few words back and forth. Zhu Xiaoming's status had risen significantly, apparently becoming the top figure just below Li Chun. At this moment, he suddenly remembered a poem Murong had once done, unable to resist loudly reciting. Looking up at the starry sky, a true man. Treading on the ground, a true cattle and horse. Moo 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 moo. The crowd found it exciting and they followed the chant vigorously, getting more spirited the more they recited. In Duan Yun's eyes, resembling a pyramid scheme gathering. Zhu Xiaoming was very satisfied with this verse, so he looked at Murong and said, "De Hua, although you still can't blood pea, it's only a matter of time. I think you're talented. How about creating another one?" Morong raised his head, looking as if he was about to compose a poem, but after straining for a while, he couldn't come up with anything. At the time he recited the poem, it truly was a moment of emotion. This day was evidently not in the same mood. This rare opportunity to show off was slipping away. Morong was quite anxious. Duan Yun saw this and said, "How about I give it a try? You, Chung Wu, you can compose poetry too?" The crowd cast peculiar glances. Both of them hadn't produced blood, revealing they hadn't joined the cattle and horse family yet. The crowd was slightly more favorable to Morong, believing that his accidental discovery led to the path of cow and horse skills. Even if no accomplishments, there were certainly hardships, and reciting the poem was indeed better than theirs, sparingly counting as having some talent. But this nearby Duan Chenggu was not very noticeable even among the outer sect disciples, so most of the cattle and horses were skeptical and dismissive. Duan Yun nodded and said, "Not about composing poetry, more like quoting a line from a gentleman back home." Zhu Xiaoming was somewhat impatient, saying, "All right, go ahead then." True man inside Iron Blood sect, a heart pure as a jade pot, fierce brows defy countless adversaries, bow down willingly as an ox to the young. Duan Yun spoke with heroic spirit. This verse caught the disciples off guard. Even though many of them didn't understand it, they still felt it was impressive, even more remarkable than Mu Dehua's bull poem. Li Chun was the first to clap and say, "Good, good, good," as the person who had mastered the cow and horse blood drowning technique to its peak. Li Chun was instinctively moved by this poem, even feeling like crying. He originally wanted to give a good compliment, maybe even compose a poem to praise it, but couldn't come up with anything, so he could only say good 3 times in a row. At this moment, someone came to realize and echoed, "Strong." Everyone couldn't help but look at Duan Yun with new eyes. Morong looked at Duan Yun, feeling uncomfortable. Damn, you can even recite poetry like this? The chance to show off, which he thought he had because he believed he was more knowledgeable than old Demon Duan, was ruined. It was a kind of unexpelled pain, made worse as old Demon Duan pulled it off next to him. It's even more unbearable than being constipated for over 10 days. Old Demon Duan, your scholarly demeanor makes me sick. At this point, young hero Duan and young hero Morong had completed their mission. That evening at dusk, the two left. As they were leaving, Duan Yun couldn't help but look back at this courtyard, where people were still diligently scrubbing the toilets and chamber pots, as if there was endless work. For a moment, he actually felt a bit nostalgic. After all, this was his first time. He didn't know how many more sects he would reform in the future, but he would surely never forget this one. He borrowed Mr. Lu Sun's lines, facing countless fingers pointing at me. I bow willingly to be a cow for the kids. Really not as an act to show off as Morong thought, but as his hope for the Iron Blood sect. Maybe these guys would never reach this step, and he himself couldn't either, but people must always have some beautiful aspirations. The setting sun was like blood. Duan Yun and Morong sat at a noodle stall eating noodles. The noodle stall owner seemed to be from U State. The noodles were numbing and spicy, yet Duan Yun and Morong enjoyed them very much. They had already taken off their human skin masks, returning to their original appearances. At this moment, 2 Iron Blood sect disciples approached. One of them looked at the noodle stall owner and asked, "Boss, have you seen 2 people?" 2 men, one with a scar on his face but quite pleasant looking, and one without a scar, looks decent but not really handsome, with curly hair. Duan Yun quickly patted Morong's head, using electricity to straighten Morong's hair. The noodle stall owner shook his head and said, "Good fellows, I don't remember." The other Iron Blood sect disciple said, "Senior brother, what if we can't find Dehua and Chung Wu?" The sect leader must have noticed their potential. I'm honestly jealous of their talents, especially Chung Wu, but everyone has their own aspirations. If we can't find them, there's nothing we can do. Duan Yun and Morong exchanged a glance, feeling a sense of accomplishment. The 2 Iron Blood sect disciples were about to leave, when they suddenly noticed a man nearby and said, "Brother, you are injured." He was a swordsman looking quite fierce. The swordsman immediately tensed up. "Our Wudao Mountain Villa has no feud with your Iron Blood sect. What are you going to do? Nothing. We just want to heal your injury. Heal? No need. I can heal it myself. The swordsman felt baffled, responding. How can you heal it well by yourself? Junior brother, hold him down. In a snap, the two of them moved as fast as lightning. The two Iron Blood sect disciples used their fists, and the moment the fist wind appeared, it gave a sense of substance, as if the fists were gathering the strength of two old oxen. This swordsman from Wudao Mountain Villa was already injured, no match, and was knocked to the ground. Before he could get up, the Iron Blood sect junior brother on the left had restrained him, while the senior brother took off his pants and shouted, Junior brother, pry his mouth open. Mm. After a burst of humiliated, sobbing-like noises, the two Iron Blood sect disciples completed the treatment of the swordsman. The swordsman watched their departing figures, akin to a woman who had been ruthlessly abandoned, tears of humiliation streaming down. Morong was shocked. Isn't this a bit too enthusiastic? Duan Yun, observing this, contemplated. For now, at least their intentions are good. They don't even charge money. And the result is always good. This swordsman's chi blood is dark. The internal injuries are serious, and without treatment, he might not survive until autumn. To save a life is more meritorious than building a 7-story futu. You're right. Morong agreed wholeheartedly. In an instant, the sense of accomplishment for both of them grew even stronger. You see, after being refined by these two young heroes, the disciples of the Iron Blood sect are already out benefiting the martial world so quickly. Can be said, this swordsman is the first to receive the blessing. As long as the Iron Blood sect continues to develop, there will be many such benefits in the martial world. It can only be said that the martial world is blessed. Qinghe City is large, a gathering place for all walks of life, both righteous and evil, with opium dens shrouded in smoke all day, brothels bustling day and night, the sounds of indulgence unceasing. But for some, Qinghe City is small. Small to the point of offering hardly any place to stay. This city is mostly filled with martial world folks, fighting for treasures in the mountains, for territory profits, with desires swelling, engaging in all sorts of deceit. Those at the bottom of the martial world are unwilling to remain at the bottom forever. They come here to try their luck, but luck isn't so easily found. Here, the commoners have to work like cattle and horses. Aside from dying from exhaustion, being killed is not common, whereas the bottom of the martial world has it worse. They're either cattle and horses or cannon fodder. People die in Qinghe City every day, and 9 out of 10 are this kind of cannon fodder. If you don't want to be cannon fodder, surviving becomes difficult with no permanent place. Now, as Duan Yun and Murong are at a place where they're eating sweet rice wine eggs, many such people are present. This street is lined with many ragged shanties, with many people in tattered clothes huddled inside, looking no different from beggars. But these people are not beggars. They are martial world wanderers. From their hands and feet, it's clear that many have trained in martial arts. Yet in this city where the martial world folks are involved in cutthroat competition, they're no better off than beggars. Brother Wang, the docks need people to unload goods, going or not. Moving 40,000 pounds of goods gets you half a pound of meat. Didn't it used to be 2 pounds of meat for 40,000 pounds of goods? Can't help it, if you don't do it, there are others who will. In Qinghe City, even strong men who refine their bodies are scrambling to do work for food. No way to live like this. Might as well wait for a chance to be hired for muscle work. Brother Wang, in other places, being hired for muscle work is about prestige and it includes meals, but here it's risky for life. Are you doing it or not? If not, I'm leaving. Damn it, I'll do it. After it's done, I'm going gambling. As long as I win a lot, it'll be fine. Life's really damn hard right now. This is just a snippet of the martial world folk on this street, yet it is also a microcosm. Those fantasizing about obtaining the divine skill secret manual and making a glorious name, yet end up as day laborers waiting for a chance. They're already considered lucky. There are even more pitiful ones among them. Since the last time he went deep into the Iron Blood sect, Duan Yun has felt the plight of the martial world's bottom layer here. It's not like he injected heroic spirit into the iron blood sect's cultivation technique, reminding them to clean toilets and wash latrines. Otherwise, the two would still be paying to toil as laborers. He thinks the bottom logic of the sect here is broken. The higher-ups don't want the lower ones to live well, and the lower ones don't want those even lower to have it better, making it so that only the ones at the top have it good, while the ones below can only eat dirt. Looking back now, he has transformed the Iron Blood sect into people willing to contribute, which can be considered a successful correction. Just as Murong once said, if everyone gives just a bit more love, this martial world will become a wonderful world. These words, although spoken when practicing the cow and horse skill to the point of mental confusion, are indeed true. This martial world is full of deceit and murder, where many only care about their own pleasure and let others suffer, lacking any love. Transforming the Iron Blood sect into those rich in cow and horse spirit truly marks the first step in reforming the martial world. Even though this approach seems somewhat forced, even a bit extreme. This martial world must be extreme. You can't view these martial world folks as normal people. We must see them as mental patients. Yes, the people of this martial world are sick, and as a young hero come doctor, he's here to treat their illness. Treating mental illness being a bit forceful, so what? If you ask me, these people lacking love should be shocked with electricity. Shock them a few more times, maybe they'll become normal and loving like him. After finishing their sweet rice wine eggs, Duan and Murong continued walking inward. Only moving further inward, the stench grows, and people are even more pitiful. Those outside can still do some odd jobs, but those inside can't. Some appear to be sick with syphilis-like conditions, thoroughly wasted, others addicted to opium, either borrowing silver to keep smoking, or lying there like walking corpses, completely collapsed. Midway, there were 2 syphilis patients attempting to rob their silver. Murong directly burst 2 pus-filled sores on them, causing them to writhe in pain, thus stopping their criminal acts. After exiting that rundown alley, both Duan and Murong agreed this place is sick. It forms a stark contrast to the area around Yushu town, where Yuzhu Manor is located. But now that this group of Yuzhu heroes have arrived, this area falls under the heroic spirit shield of Yuzhu Manor, and will soon become peaceful. At this moment, a woman rushed over at the alley entrance, saying, Yun, hurry, Iron Blood sect men are treating illnesses again. The Yun brothers scratched while sighing. Iron Blood sect that's everywhere picking up patients? But I have syphilis. Even syphilis can be treated, Mr. Wang was cured. Better hurry. Their blood can only treat when it's fresh, just a few days each month. Can it be treated? Yun hesitated for a moment, ultimately gritting his teeth, saying, I'm not treating. This disease I got from Miss Cece. As long as I have this disease, it means Miss Cece has me. I'll die before I treat it. The woman saw this, angrily pounding her chest. You're really pathetic. An evil woman from brothel gives you a disease, and you act as if losing your soul. Yun didn't get angry. Instead he reminisced with a face of nostalgia. Miss Cece's taste is really nice. Duan Yun couldn't help but glance at Murong. Murong retorted, Why do you look at me? Am I as pathetic as him? No way, I need to return to see Ningqing. I genuinely miss her too much.